That is near Scott Boulevard. It's in the county, just outside the city limits. Again, several homes struck by overnight gunfire. About 3 o'clock this morning, a woman who lives nearby tells KMIZ she heard about 20 gunshots at about 3 o'clock this morning. Our colleague ABC 17's Joshua Blount has been on scene all night. He is still there right now. He is reporting just moments ago that Boone County deputies are still trying to determine what happened. Again, multiple homes hit by gunfire. West Bellevue Drive, just outside of Scott Boulevard overnight this morning. We'll keep you posted as we get more details. The National Transportation Safety Board has identified the cause of a deadly mid-Missouri plane crash. It happened 2 years ago.
Federal investigators now say it was an onboard fire that caused a fatal plane crash at the lake in 2020. Scott and Amy Lowe of Iowa died in the crash. It happened after they took off from the Osage Beach Airport in August of that year. A bystander said he saw gasoline leaking from the engine compartment before takeoff. John Marsh, 93.9, The Eagle.
John, thank you. The suspect accused of threatening to bomb a Columbia KinderCare will be extradited back to Missouri. A Boone County judge ordering Alexander Green's extradition from Atchison, Kansas. Now, that's about 20 miles from St. Joseph. The police chief in Atchison, Mike Wilson, tells 93.9 The Eagle that his officers saw Green riding his bicycle in downtown Atchison. We're told the arrest happened quickly. Green has a history of calling and harassing the KinderCare here in Columbia. That's according to our news partner, ABC 17. One of Jefferson City's biggest employers will be expanding. We'll learn the details of it coming up here in a few hours. Governor Mike Parson will join Hitachi Energy officials at their massive facility on Highway 94 for today's expansion announcement. They'll also celebrate the 50th anniversary of the plant that opened up in 1972. The plant manufactures transformers, a key element of the world's power grid. Parson spokesperson Kelly Jones tells 93.9 The Eagle 75 people attend the 11 o'clock event this morning, including the governor, Hitachi Senior Vice President Steve McKinney, and the Hitachi Jefferson City factory manager, Greg Callahan. Now, locals still call this in Jefferson City ABB. Technically, some down there still call it Westinghouse, but it is officially known as Hitachi Energy. It's right across the street from the Jefferson City Airport. Again, 11 o'clock this morning in Jefferson City. Employees at the Daniel Boone Regional Library have voted to unionize. They operate libraries. The library does. Columbia, Ashland, Fulton, and Holt Summit. Library says that they have made the safety of the public and their employees their top priority since the start of the pandemic. And an attorney who serves on the House Elections Committee in Jefferson City is predicting that voter ID legislation will have trouble in the courts. That bill is now on Governor Parson's desk. Columbia Democratic State Representative David Tyson Smith, who's an attorney, also hopes the governor vetoes photo ID.
Photo ID has been struck down by the courts, and that's really the talk, kind of the buzz in the building, is that the courts are going to strike it down. Of course I want him to veto it. Sure. Will he? I doubt it, but I'm optimistic that the courts are going to look at this and do the right thing.
Washington State Representative John Simmons' bill would require voters to show a government-issued photo ID to vote. Example would be a driver's license. Secretary of State Ashcroft has said his office helps Missourians obtain a free photo ID. 93.9 The Eagle News brought to you in the 6 o'clock hour by AirServe Heating and Air Conditioning, ensuring the air in which you live and breathe is comfortable and clean. For all of your cooling needs, log on to airserve.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:07. In sports, the Cardinals beat the Toronto Blue Jays. What a game last night. 10 innings, Paul Goldschmidt with a grand slam in the 10th inning to win it for St. Louis. 10 innings, St. Louis hosting the Blue Jays again tonight at Busch Stadium. First pitch, 6:45, 93.9 The Eagle. They have Vladimir Guerrero Jr. A lot of talent on that Blue Jay team for sure. 7-3, the final yesterday. Diamondbacks beat the Royals last night. Chase Field in Phoenix, 9-5. Game 2 of the series is tonight, 8:40 our time at Chase Field. Again, 8:40 our time out in Phoenix. And the Colorado Avalanche beat the Blues last night 6-3 at the Enterprise Center. They take a 3-1 lead in the series. Condrey had a hat trick for the Avalanche, are one win away from winning the series. Again, they're up 3-1 that series, heading back right now to Ball Arena for the next game. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Steve's Pest Control, stevespestcontrol.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:08. All right, John, thanks. Weather brought to you by Steve's Pest Control. Steve'sPestControl.com. It is termite swarm season. 58. 609 traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies are looking for local people, midmohires.com. If you live outside of or in the Scott Boulevard area, you may notice a law enforcement presence still this morning. There was overnight gunfire on West Bellevue Drive. We don't believe anyone was struck by gunfire, but our news partner, ABC 17, reports multiple homes were hit by overnight gunfire on West Bellevue. The investigation continues. So if you wake up, see a lot of police presence in that area, that is the reason why. We'll have more team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
I think you can at least say that it is Jim Crow adjacent.
This is a party that does not like the browning of America.
It's voter suppression. It's the new Jim Crow.
This is the perfect time for them to use their political leverage to stand up and say, no, we're not going back to the Jim Crow era.
The president himself said these feel like Jim Crow laws. What's your take on whether it is or isn't?
I say it is. I mean, I did grow up under Jim Crow laws.
We know now what we knew then. That's all complete BS. That's reaction from a lot of the national news outlets whenever Georgia passed laws that tightened and ensured the voting process. So when you go and vote, you feel confident that your vote is going to be counted and that it's going to be counted for who it is that you cast it for. They cast it, they being the progressives in the national news outlets. It's Jim Crow, it's against black people. They don't want black people to vote. So Stephanie and I are going to look at some facts here in a second. Facts regarding some turnout in Georgia. That's far ahead of the primary, but want to do this first. Apparently, numerous shots fired along a stretch somewhere around Scott Boulevard. Wanted to get an update on that real quick.
Yeah, about 3 o'clock this morning, and Joshua Blount has done a fine job on this, reporting for our news partner, Branden, from ABC 17. The street is actually West Bellevue. West Bellevue is, again, this is off of Scott Boulevard. It would be south of Southview Drive, West Southview. There's a street called West Bethany, if people know where that is, not far from Coventry Point. You're talking about an area just to the north, to give people an idea of where Scott Boulevard, where we're talking about there. The MKT Trail, the Scott Boulevard access, is just south of there. So that should give people some idea of where that is. Those are primarily, as I recall from that area, you have a lot of apartment buildings, so you have some homes as well, but I believe a lot of those are duplexes on that particular street. The witnesses are telling Joshua that gunfire rang out about, one witness specifically heard about 20 gunshots, multiple homes hit, no word on a motive. They're still trying to determine what happened. We don't believe anybody was hurt, but we'll keep you posted on that with Joshua. And I'm also checking with the Boone County Sheriff's Department, but they've got their hands full right now.
West Bellevue and Scott Boulevard. So if you're familiar with like West Water School Road and the roundabout there at Scott and West Water School Road, it's just north of that a ways. Yes. We will keep you updated this morning. And if you happen to have been in that area or are in that area, feel free to reach out to us at 874-9390, either via text or call. Let us know what it is that you saw or what it is that you are seeing now. So Stephanie and I got, we were looking back. We were sitting and having lunch the other day and talking about the show, as we commonly do every year. We do it once a year. So we got to thinking, all these news outlets, and there's more on this Jim Crow stuff, by the way, all the national news outlets, whenever Georgia passed laws that said, hey, we want to make sure, because all of this fear, of cheating in elections and stuff, so let's clean it up and make sure that there is no room for election fraud. So we did that, and the progressive, you don't want black people to vote, it's Jim Crow laws. They peed the bed.
They're going to lock off every way that you can vote. This is the end of democracy in America. This is the beginning of the South Africa strategy. It's old school America.
Very much sort of reminiscent of Jim Crow era tactics.
Okay, so that was months ago. And by the way, you remember the other thing that happened? All these corporations came out. I think Coca-Cola was on board. Major League Baseball, because of this, pulled the All-Star game out of Atlanta, took out millions and millions of dollars in revenue in the city of Atlanta, which per capita has the largest percentage of black-owned businesses. These voting laws are against blacks, so all these black businesses that are going to benefit from the millions and millions of dollars from the Major League Baseball All-Star game, we're going to yank it. I'm telling you, and this is important. This is not just a talking point. Here, it's important because that's that mindset. You see what we're saying? If you're a new listener to Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle, it's what we're trying to explain to you. It's that thinking. It's beyond politics. It's the idiotic way of thinking. So this voter law, it's suppressionist Jim Crow laws. We know that is false. Then what do? You take the All-Star game and revenue, millions of dollars in revenues for black-owned businesses in Atlanta, and you pull it out of there, and you go to Colorado, by the way, one of the whitest states in America. My God, these people are stupid. Well, Stephanie's found some facts, and I think, to be fair, good, bad, or indifferent, I think it's fair that we look at the facts.
And the facts are, it has been a record-setting early voting period in Georgia.
Oh, my God.
Nearly 860,000 ballots have already been cast, which is up 168% from 2018. And, wait.
All right.
212% increase from 2020. Now, if you recall, an important thing about the bill and about a lot of these changes that people complained about was during COVID, we kind of said, whatever, right? You can vote wherever, whatever, for whatever reason. We really loosened the normal, regular practices of voting. We tried some new things. We said, hey, there's a worldwide pandemic. Maybe we should try some new stuff, do a little bit of experimenting. And so a lot of the laws that, you hear a lot of complaining about, it was just either sunsetting or reining back in some of those wild practices we used during a worldwide pandemic to what we've always done. And so it's really, I'm not surprised that it's record-setting early voting because, one thing they complain about is drop boxes. And so the fact that, during the pandemic, we tried this new drop box thing to try to keep everyone safe and separated. And maybe we figured out, hey, there's a better way to do this and a way that, since we're not in a worldwide pandemic like we were, that would be more appropriate. There's good election policies. And I think it's not and what we know now is it's not restricting the vote at all.
And we've seen local media do this, by the way, local news outlets, when they've talked about voting legislation in Missouri, it's restricting voter headlines from local news outlets. Home to the School of Journalism, the most storied school of journalism in the entire damn country's at Mizzou. And you have local news outlets. It restricts voter rights. My God, you idiots. It does not, and we've proved it. So all those national news outlets, Jim Crow, blah, blah. And the facts are this morning, we knew then it was BS. So is what I'm telling you is see how we're right here. And I don't mean we, me, and Stephanie. I mean we, the smart people, conservatives. We're right about this stuff. Those people don't know what they're talking about. And this is affecting us here in the state, as a matter of fact. DTS, David Tyson Smith, local rep. Not a fan of photo ID for voting.
Photo ID has been struck down by the courts, and that's really the talk, kind of the buzz in the building, is that the courts are going to strike it down. Of course I want them to veto it.
Sure.
Will he? I doubt it, but I'm optimistic that the courts are going to look at this and do the right thing.
Because, again, there's fear, well, photo ID, it's racist, it's this, and fewer people will vote. Same thing they said regarding Georgia election laws. We know that they didn't know what they were talking about anyway. And it's the same thing here. There was nothing wrong with having to show your ID to vote.
I had to show my photo ID to get my daughter's ears pierced.
Really?
Yes, because the law is, you have to be their parental consent. And the only way that they know that I can consent, I brought her birth certificate and my driver's license, and they compared my driver's license to the name on the birth certificate to ensure that I could legally consent for her to get her ears pierced.
Now, when you got a tattoo on her shoulder, did you have to do the same thing?
Right?
Are you serious?
Yes, ear piercing.
So ear piercing, birth certificate, and mom's photo ID.
Correct.
Well, if you got to show a photo ID to get your little girl's ears pierced, then it makes sense that when you vote, and I wonder if that's regulation by folks that do the bureaucratic regulations that the people that pierce the.
But they wanted to make sure that I was who I said I was. They wanted to make sure that I was the proper person to consent, that, two 18-year-olds don't come in as their friend. And when people show up to the polls, we want to make sure they are who they say they are. Easy as that.
874-9390 if you have thoughts on this. I know you're just saying, and if you're in your car, you're probably, we told you. Yes, we told you. These are not voter suppression laws. We told you. These are not Jim Crow laws. And if you're banging on the console of your car and your dashboard right now as you're listening to Wake Up Columbia, that is the proper response. And I'm excited to get into today's daily DC rundown because we're staying in Georgia. Because primary today, it's Trump v. Pence, kind of when it comes to endorsements. Last night, Trump doing a phone interview with some TV show. He was asked about Mike Pence, his former vice president.
I'm very disappointed in Mike, as a lot of people are. And he just very greatly disappointed me.
So that's Trump talking about Pence, guy who used to be the vice president, very likely running for president on the GOP side in 2024.
Yes, been spending some time in Iowa.
Spending time in Iowa. He is campaigning for the guy. It looks like, according to polls, for what polls are worth, he campaigned yesterday for the guy that's very likely to win this primary.
At least one political activist said we're not going to have a runoff. It's going to be embarrassing.
Meanwhile, Pennsylvania, still no resolution to that race there between Dr. Mammoth and his opponent. So let's move forward. Do want to get into the daily DC rundown here on 93.9 The Eagle. Want to mention this also. Christopher Arps, besides being a guest here every Tuesday on Wake Up Columbia for several years, besides being one of the most knowledgeable when it comes to the inside of Missouri politics, this guy, he advocates for voting rights and for making sure that it's legal. So do specifically want to get his thoughts on some of this Georgia stuff ahead of that election here on 93.9 The Eagle. What do you have coming up in the Daily DC Rundown?
Primaries, more primaries, and more primaries.
You got anything on primaries?
And a little bit on Ukraine.
And Ukraine and primaries coming up about 5 minutes from now on the Daily DC Rundown on 93.9 The Eagle. Pro pumping and hydrojetting. You dump it, we pump it. And they ain't kidding. Here's the phone number, 474-5489, 474-5489. That's the phone number for pro pumping and hydrojetting. And I love the first thing, you get onto a website and it says, this is what we do, this is our business. But I love this about pro pumping and hydrojetting's website. They clean out septic tanks and they do maintenance on septic tanks. You do preventative maintenance on your car all the time, right? The oil change, tires rotated. Septic tank lagoons, kind of the same thing. But I love this on the front page at pro-pumping.com. Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting, thank you for giving Pro Pumping and Hydrojetting the opportunity to introduce ourselves. Pro Pumping is a family-owned and operated company that has been in business in mid-Missouri for over 40 years. So they're the go-to folks around here in case you're new in town when it comes to septic tank pumping and grease trap maintenance, lagoon maintenance. That's if you're new because you're new in town. Where do I go for this? Where do I go for that? For those types of services, you go to pro-pumping.com.
Let's go. Wake up Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle.
I'm not focused on Stacey Abrams. The next 24 to 36 hours, I'm focused on winning this primary, doing all that we can to make sure she's never our governor or our next president. But we got to take care of business tomorrow to be able to do that.
Brian Kemp gets us into today's Daily DC Rundown. I want to real quickly, before Stephanie gets you some fascinating information this morning and how this all is going to affect us here in Missouri. I love that he said, right now I'm not worried about Stacey Abrams. I'm worried about campaigning. I'm worried about my immediate opponent. And I'll say that because, and we see it locally with congressional races, U.S. Senate race, these candidates come on and they blast Joe Biden. We all know Joe Biden sucks. Tell me why you're better than the other 87 people in your field of conservatives. Sorry, Stephanie, go ahead.
Big race in Georgia today. Perdue v. Kemp, also Trump v. Pence. So they're on different sides. Trump, we heard earlier, is disappointed in Pence, but it will say a lot today about Trump's endorsement power. And as expected, I think he's going to take a big L tonight.
He probably will. And I think a lot of folks, too, will come out, oh, this is a big victory for Mike Pence. Mike Pence endorsed the other guy well after he'd been leading the polls. It's one race. I don't put a lot of stock into if Pence guy wins, that it's a big night for Pence.
Sure. So also, besides just Georgia, there are primaries today in Alabama, Arkansas, Texas, and Minnesota. Another one that I think is getting less play in Georgia is, I guess, Marjorie Taylor Greene has a whole handful of challengers, and she said some pretty out there stuff.
She's going to get Madison Cawthorn.
You think?
There's a little bit.
Are you betting a steak dinner on that?
Everybody's ears here on the show perked up. And if you were watching on our YouTube channel, 93.9 The Eagle, you would have known that. A little bit of crazy's good. Marjorie Taylor crazy, that's too much. I should think about a bet on this.
Okay, so tomorrow morning we'll know how crazy is too crazy. I like it. Also, my husband actually mentioned this to me this morning. He said, what's going on in Russia and Ukraine? And if you recall, early on, everyone thought it would be kind of a quick thing, no matter, what exactly happened, but that it would wrap up fairly quickly. And it's just kind of going on and on and on. And I think that's, with gas prices and everything else, and I think, Putin thought it would be a pretty quick thing. Yep. And even the Ukrainians, how long can they hang on? And it just, I don't know that there's an end in sight, is there?
There doesn't seem to be any end in sight. And I think there seems to be more and more taste from Americans, according to polling. For what it's worth, it says, hey, maybe we ought to rethink what we are doing there, or just continue to let them do their own thing. I do want to get back to some of this voting stuff. Christopher Arps going to be joining us. He's with a voting kind of alliance thing, so I'm anxious to hear some of his takes on what's happening in Georgia and how that affects us here in Missouri. He's here 5 minutes from now.
Steve's Pest Control is reminding you that it's termite swarm season. If you see black-bodied, long-winged insects, you may be having a swarm. Call Steve's Pest Control today for a no-cost evaluation.
Ms. Foster, President Biden ends his 5-day trip to Asia, meeting with the prime ministers of Japan, Australia, and India, an informal alliance known as the Quad. They spoke about the Russian invasion of Ukraine.
We're navigating a dark hour in our shared history. The Russian brutal and unprovoked war against Ukraine has triggered a humanitarian catastrophe, and innocent civilians have killed in the streets, and millions of refugees are internally displaced as well as exiled.
India's government has not imposed sanctions on Russia or condemned the invasion. There are primaries in 5 states today, including runoffs in Texas.
Democrat U.S. Rep. Henry Cuellar did a runoff election described as a political knife fight between Cuellar, one of the most conservative Democrats, who's facing an AOC-backed progressive, immigration attorney Jessica Cisneros.
Fox's Jeff Manasso. America's listening to Fox News.
93.9 The Eagle News with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 6:31 and Robinson saves you time. Right now, we continue to see cloudy skies in mid-Missouri. 58 our current temperature. We're going to have a high today of around 71. Showers tonight, low near 63. And tomorrow, more rain and a high of 77 degrees. Good morning, and here's some of the stories that we are working on for you. In this 6 o'clock hour, there has been a large law enforcement presence overnight on West Bellevue Drive in Boone County near Scott Boulevard. Our news partner, ABC 17 News, reports multiple homes were struck by overnight gunfire. No word on possible injuries right now. 93.9 The Eagle News has reached out to the Boone County Sheriff's Captain Brian Lear for additional information. We will update this story when we hear back from him. Meantime, employees at the Daniel Boone Regional Library have voted to unionize. ABC 17's Megan Drakis has the details.
The unofficial vote tally shows that a little over 65% of the Daniel Boone Regional Library staff voted in favor of forming a union. Now, the unofficial results for the Labor Department state that out of the 156 valid votes processed, 101 employees voted in favor of unionizing.
ABC 17's Megan Drakis reporting there from outside Daniel Boone Regional Library. They operate libraries in Columbia, Ashland, Fulton, and Holt Summit. A Boone County judge ordering Columbia's KinderCare suspect to be extradited back to Missouri from Kansas per a warrant. Suspect is Alexander Green, and we'll learn details at 11 o'clock this morning about a new expansion project. Hitachi Energy in Jefferson City, one of the largest employers in the capital city. Governor Parson will be there for the announcement to celebrate their 50th anniversary as well. 11 o'clock this morning, they will also plant a tree at that time, right off of Highway 94. News is brought to you by MidAmericaMortgage.us. Our news time, 6:33. And now we get into our sports. The St. Louis Cardinals beat the Toronto Blue Jays by a score of 7-3 as Paul Goldschmidt homered in the 10th inning for a grand slam. St. Louis hosting the Blue Jays again tonight at Busch Stadium. Our first pitch, 6:45, right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Jordan Hicks will be on the mound for the Cardinals. Diamondbacks beat the Royals last night. Chase Field in Phoenix by a score of 9-5. Game 2 of the series is tonight at 8:40 our time. And the Avalanche beat the Blues 6-3 last night at the Enterprise Center, taking a 3-1 lead in the series. Kadri with a hat trick for the Avalanche. They are one win away from winning the series. Now, there are news reporters who are saying at least one fan who was sitting near the Avalanche bench literally was thrown out of the game. Not exactly sure what he was doing, but apparently thrown out. Another one warned. And this all has to do with some of the alleged threats, some apparently death threats this hockey player has received from the Colorado Avalanche. The NHL's been involved in this, and the St. Louis police continue their investigation. Sports is brought to you this morning by MidAmericaMortgage.us. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 6:34. And our traffic check is presented by MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com to find a job or post your job opening today. Roads are pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. Again, for those of you just waking up over off of Scott Boulevard in the area near West Bellevue Drive, there has been overnight gunfire. About 3 o'clock this morning, one witness telling ABC 17's Joshua Blount she heard 20 gunshots, multiple homes hit by gunfire. Not aware of any injuries right now. As soon as we hear back from Captain Lear, we'll have more information for you. But there will be some homeowners waking up. They're going to have damage to their homes, apparently, with this overnight gunfire. And it's unclear on what caused it and if there's any suspect information at this time. We'll have another update for you coming up at 7:03. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
Chris. Hi, I'm Becky Arps, and I am so excited that you get to experience a bit of the thoughts I hear every single day. Enjoy.
Chris Arps, ChrisArps.com. You see him on Newsmax all the time, live from Michigan this morning, working on some voter stuff there. And this is going to tie into a lot of things that we want to talk to you about this morning. We have a local state rep, David Tyson Smith, who is against voter ID. Our big thing that Stephanie and I have been on because we don't like saying "I told you so," right?
Sure.
But we do, but not to loved ones. But we're looking at some facts, Georgia voting turnout records thus far following the passage of, the Jim Crow laws that all the national news outlets were on. So this ties into to that. David Tyson Smith against photo ID here because it's about black people. What are you doing in Michigan today?
Before we start, I hate to correct you starting off. It's actually ChristopherArps.com, not ChrisArps.com.
Well, okay,
Could you get it right, please?
ChristopherArps.com. Here's the thing, man. Number one, I have a poor memory. Okay, two big things here. I have a poor memory. We've had a discussion about your name before. And thirdly, because I call you Christopher Arps, and you've probably said, dude, you can just call me Chris. And I said, okay, so it's Chris. It's Christopher Arps.
Can't you just grab ChrisArps.com and have it redirect to Christopher Arps? You don't have Chris Arps? I'm surprised.
You know what? I have to talk to my, as I call Becky, my CITFO. She'll figure all that stuff out.
Becky Arps is the best, by the way, and I'm sure they're with you in Michigan this morning. What are you doing there?
I'm here in Michigan working on a ballot initiative to try to get photo ID enacted here in Michigan. And we've come up against a lot of resistance from people that don't want this. Surprisingly, it has a Missouri connection working against us. But, we're up here trying to get photo ID passed. We did a poll here. I'm president of Americans for Citizen Voting. We did a poll a couple of months ago that showed that 75% of Michiganders support having to show a photo ID at the polls. 79% of African Americans support having to show a photo ID at the polls. And I think one thing that has helped raise that number is the pandemic, the COVID situation. We all know that if you wanted to get a COVID test or you wanted to get a COVID shot, guess what? You had to have an ID. And I think when it came to a life and death situation like that, a lot of people found their local DMV and acquired IDs, photo IDs.
Chris, I had to show my ID to get my daughter's ears pierced and her birth certificate for an ear piercing.
And one of the things we talk about, you need a photo ID to adopt a kitten or a puppy. That's how basic it is. You cannot function in life without a photo ID. And it just amazes me that just such a common sense measure like that, to ensure that we have voter integrity is being thwarted like it is.
Chris Arps from ChristopherArps.com does a lot of writing for Red State, too. Really good stuff. He's on Newsmax TV all the time because they value his opinion. They put him on. They elevate him to a national platform. So the Georgia thing that was...
You're my agent. Wow,
hey, Becky Arps. I'm looking for a good agent. So Georgia... We told you so. All the national news outlets, Stacey Abrams, Coca-Cola's, this is BS. Major League Baseball took millions and millions of dollars away from black business owners in Atlanta by yanking the All-Star game and putting it then into one of the whitest cities in America. My God, these people are stupid. They really are. And I'm not saying that to be mean. I'm just saying that to be factual. And now Stephanie was presenting some facts, the number of quick facts on what it has done in reality.
Record-setting early voting in Georgia. Nearly 860,000 people have already voted, and that is a 168% increase from 2018 and 212% increase from 2020.
Do you have any other response, Christopher, besides, we told you so?
Well, this is a pattern. This is a pattern that we've seen for years, that whenever so-called voter suppression efforts are enacted, black turnout actually goes up. So if this is the grand master plan of the Republican Party to suppress the vote by doing these voting election integrity measures, they're not working.
It's not working. And the other thing it tells me is they put forth excuses that they know are lies. Because, well, I can't get a photo ID. Listen, you have people like Cherie Tolson-Reich, one of our local reps. You have the Secretary of State, Jay Ashcroft, saying, you call me, we will get you your ID. We will get you that you will do whatever it is you need to get your ID. So they try to detract from the real issues, and they lie doing it. Yeah. And now we are presenting facts this morning, and this stuff comes back home as we talk about our voter ID legislation. By the way, you've got some pretty stiff competition in Michigan while you're kind of working on behalf of voter ID laws there, aren't you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's really dirty tricks up here. You know, we have a labor shortage just across the board, and that translates also into petition circulators. We can't get enough of them. And so there is a rival group that has a similar name to Secure Michigan Vote. It's Protect Michigan Vote. First of all, they're trying to confuse people by saying that they are the same petition thing as us, which in Michigan law, if you sign a petition twice, it's canceled out. So they're trying to confuse people. But the really disappointing thing is Andy Blunt, son of Senator Roy Blunt, is working with a group that is trying to thwart our efforts, and they've poured millions of dollars into this effort. They are intimidating people who are petition signers, telling them that if you work for this company, you will never work in the petition signing business again. We've had one petitioner who was paid $50,000 to not sign a petition for or work for our effort, and he has been and they were paying him to work with other petitioners not to work for us. So it's really dirty tricks, and you would not think that son of a Republican senator would be trying to thwart photo ID efforts. It's very disappointing.
Chris Arps, I want to make sure I've got this right. So you're alleging that the son of our senior U.S. Senator Roy Blunt, a son of his, is working for a firm that's against presenting photo ID to vote, and they're using dirty tactics.
That's correct. Well, it's his firm. It's called HSB Plus, and they started this firm about 2 or 3 years ago to help with ground efforts on petition ballots and stuff like that. And they have received millions of dollars for Soros-connected dark money groups to fund this effort against us. And it's not an alleged. I mean, the Detroit Free News, I think that's the paper up here, has done a story on this. So it's not alleged. They've got proof that Senator Blunt's son is working against photo ID in Michigan.
I want to make sure we're clear. Our U.S. Senate race to replace Mr. Blunt heating up. The few pieces of polling that we had seen outside of sources from Eric Greitens, because Eric Greitens sends me emails all the time. He won't come on the show. We've reached out several times in the past month.
I know the feeling.
They don't want to come on. They find friendly territory so they can pitch him softballs and hit it out of the park. God love Eric Greitens for his service to our country. Were you surprised? Latest polling that I would consider. So most significant polling, basically, it was Schmidt, Hartzler. Hartzler, Schmidt were leading the polls for the U.S. Senate race. For what polling's worth, this latest poll that came out from the CBS TV affiliate in St. Louis in conjunction with USA Polls shows Eric Greitens with a lead in the primaries. What was your reaction to that?
I have to tell you, I was surprised. I thought now that we're getting closer to the primary season, you start seeing a lot more jabbing and negative ads. And with the revelations regarding his ex-wife and his children, I thought that he would lose a little momentum, maybe be in second place, maybe third place. I'm surprised that he is leading. We have had his opponent, Billy Long, on the show in St. Louis, and Billy Long said on my partner's show in Springfield that he actually believes those polls and believes that that Eric Greitens is actually in the lead. So.
As a matter of fact, before I forget, I do want to get to. I happened to be in St. Louis Friday and enjoyed. You had a great conversation with Billy Long on your radio show.
Oh, you heard it?
Oh, yeah. I thought it was really good. I thought that I had even texted you and said, "Man, that was a really good conversation."
You did.
I did text. Yeah, it was a great conversation, and I might want to get into some of your conversation with Billy Long. But let me ask you this: as far as the Greitens polling, do you think? Because I know the people that love Eric Greitens, and listen, I had issues before Eric Greitens, before the whole thing with tying the chick up in the basement and threatening her with nudies. I had issues with him prior to that. Do you think with these polling numbers, some folks that are saying, I like Greitens, but I for moral reasons, I just cannot support this man, or for reasons other than that, it might be because of his smarminess, whatever it is, they don't like him. But do you think folks will look at this poll and go, you know what, maybe it's okay to support him now for that U.S. Senate race?
I don't think the polling will make that much difference in people deciding to vote for him or not. I think his support is pretty much locked in. I think people will say, well, we're wondering, can he win if he wins the primary? I just don't see, and it's not because I hate Eric Greitens or against him. I just can't see Republican women, suburban women, voting for him in a general election. I just think a lot of them will stay home or just won't vote for him, and will lose a very winnable seat to the Democrat. That's what I'm afraid of. There are going to be people that just can't vote for Greitens, especially women. And as we know, women vote more than men. So and that worries me, Branden.
Stephanie Bell and going even deeper into this polling regarding then Eric Greitens moving into the general. I do want to come back to that if you can hang out for a few more minutes. Christopher Arps live from Michigan this morning, where he's working on a voter ID campaign, and we're going to look more at some of this polling and what Eric Greitens would do in a general race, in this U.S. Senate race. We'll do that coming up 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Roofing and siding. And here's why he's obsessive about roofing. And it matters because you want somebody, listen, like when you take care of your stuff, you do it because you think, I can do a better job than anybody else that I'm going to hire because it's my stuff and I want to take care of it. Greg treats your roofing or siding the exact same way, man. I mean, this is a complete roofing system. Denailing, pulling off the old shingles. He's been doing this since 1976. You should check them out. Hodges Roofing and Siding. And so you talk about, okay, so he does a great job, all that good stuff. What else? You ever had to do insurance paperwork on that kind of stuff? Not fun. Greg Hodges, Hodges Roofing and Siding. They will do that for you. Hodges Roofing and Siding. Check them out online. Hodges Roofing and Siding.
Wake Up Columbia. News, analysis, opinion, and Hannah the producer. 93.9 The Eagle.
I knew that was coming for a long time. Whenever the day that Vicki hired Josh's team at On Message to represent her, I called Josh and I said, this looks to me like that, you know, you might be getting into Vicki.
That was us talking to Billy Long, and this was when Stephanie and I were at the Missouri State Lincoln Days, because it was that day before the candidate forum that we learned that Josh Hawley had just endorsed Vicki, and this was just like really moments before this was all unfolding. Billy Long then reacting to us afterwards. Do want to get to some of the highlights. Chris Arps had a great conversation on his radio show on Friday. We're digging deeper into this polling, really for what polling's worth. Credible polling, KMOV USA polling, not USA Today, USA polling shows Greitens winning the primary if the elections were held today. But then the big concern is, okay, he could feasibly win the primary. And by the way, with 23, 24% of the vote, and then go on to the general where he's going to get his tail kicked.
But the polling says that he won't. The polling has him up. So they polled against Kuntz and against Trudy Bush Valentine, the two leaders on the Democrat side. Greitens was +6 against either one of those opponents. But importantly, Schmidt was +12 and +13, and Hartzler was +14 and +11. So any other candidate would really run away with it. +6 doesn't give me a lot of. It just gives me some pause. How about that?
I think the big X factor in the primary and the general election is we still haven't seen any quote-unquote contrast ads or negative ads. I think, as we get closer to the primary, you're going to see more of those ads. They should knock Eric Greitens down a couple of pegs. I don't know if it will defeat him. But I tell you, in the general election, what terrifies me is Eric Greitens running against a female who is a multimillionaire with unlimited money to spend who has no legislative record. That terrifies me.
And that would be Trudy Valentine Bush. It's pretty interesting. Chris Arps.
Or Trudy Bush Valentine. You got to get it right now.
Oh, that's 2 mistakes in less than 30 minutes, which is a better day than most for me, Chris. And the website is not chrisarps.com. It is christopherarps.com. And I think you'd like it. Here's the cool thing. I'll tell you this because we've only got about 2 minutes here, and I want to talk about Billy Long on your show, on your St. Louis show. What I appreciate about ChristopherArps.com, you keep it fresh, man. It's not like, oh, look, every 3 days I post something. You excuse me, let me correct myself. There's my third mistake. Becky Arps, your wife, does a good job of keeping that updated. So I think you'd enjoy the website. Billy Long on your show Friday, he's on here all the time. I really appreciated his visit on your show Friday in St. Louis. You were asking him about polling, and Billy Long, because you asked him, do you doubt this polling? First thing he said, no, I believe the polling's accurate. But it spoke to the honesty of Billy Long. He's honest, and he tells it like it is. One of your one or two, if you were to vote for Billy Long, one reason you'd vote for Billy.
One reason I would vote for Billy is because he is an honest person, as you said. He's just so down to earth. He has the conservative values that we all love, and he's just a good old boy, just a good guy.
Don't be silly, vote for Billy.
I just love it. And I tell you a personal story. I was the MC of the Republican St. Louis County Lincoln Days dinner earlier this year, and Billy Long was one of the guests, and he was at the head table with me. And the waitresses were coming around filling up our water, and my wife asked for her water glass to be filled, and the waitress didn't see her. And so Billy went out of his way to get the waitress' attention and say, hey, this young lady here wants her water glass filled as well. And I've never forgotten that, and it shows what a true gentleman Billy Long is. And I hope that he can gain some traction in this race, because I personally think he would make a great senator, and we would always be entertained here in Missouri with Billy Long as a senator.
And we'd be entertained, and not for a lot of stupid stuff either. I mean, really, we'd be entertained in what, it's not, he wouldn't be entertaining in like the Marjorie Taylor Greens.
Yes.
Yeah. Christopher Arps, ChristopherArps.com. Next time you're on Newsmax?
Thursday, 5:30, 6, and 7.
And that pause
here from Michigan.
Pauses because he's asking his agent sitting next to him. There. We love you, Chris.
Hey, love you guys. Have a great week.
Coming up here on 93.9 and the Eagle, update on a local shooting overnight, at least 20 shots fired.
They can vote now in Alabama. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, one of 5 states holding primaries today.
GOP Congressman Mo Brooks is the most notable name in the Republican race to succeed retiring Senator Richard Shelby. For a while, Brooks had Donald Trump's endorsement, but that was taken away after Brooks urged the former president to move on from 2020.
Fox's Gernal Scott. The polls also open this hour in Arkansas. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, who was a press secretary in the Trump White House, has the former president's backing in the Republican governor's race. In Georgia, a Trump-backed candidate is hoping to unseat a governor in a Republican primary.
The race pitting Governor Brian Kemp, who's endorsed by former VP Mike Pence, against Trump-backed David Perdue. President Trump eager to see Kemp and Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger ousted for blocking efforts to overturn the 2020 election.
Fox's Marianne Rafferty. There are also primaries to fill a vacant House seat in Minnesota, while in Texas there are runoffs from the March primaries with George P. Bush trying to oust fellow Republican Ken Paxton, who is the state attorney general. More babies were born in the U.S. last year.
The small 1% rise was a bit of a rebound from 2020, which saw the largest one-year drop in U.S. births in nearly 50 years. But a government report says it was still 86,000 fewer than in 2019. Officials from the CDC think last year's uptick reflects births from pregnancies that had been put off during the early uncertain days of the pandemic.
Fox's Chris DeMeo. President Biden is on his way home. His Asian trip's over, ending with a meeting with the leaders of Japan, Australia, and India.
We're navigating a dark hour in our shared history. The Russian brutal and unprovoked war against Ukraine has triggered a humanitarian catastrophe.
Though India has not condemned that or cut back on buying Russian oil, the president refused to answer reporters' questions if he pressed India's prime minister on that. America's listening to Fox News.
America could face 1970s-style stagflation. That means slow economic growth, high unemployment, and high inflation. The implications for hard-working Americans could be catastrophic. But you can protect your savings. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon. I want to remind you that high inflation is not a financial death sentence. By diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into physical gold IRA from Birch Gold Group, you can protect your retirement savings from the ravages of inflation. I'm proud to be a customer of Birch Gold, and I highly recommend their free information kit to anyone interested in gold and silver. To get your free copy, simply text the word PROTECT to 989898. It's critical You get this information before stagflation bleeds through your savings. So text PROTECT to the number 989898. That's PROTECT to 989898 to get your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation or purchase required.
.939 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:03 and Robinson saves you time. Partly cloudy skies. 58 is our current temperature. We're expecting a high today of around 71 degrees. A chance of rain this afternoon. Showers tonight. Low near 63 and rain is in the forecast tomorrow. And a high of 77 degrees. Good morning. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you on this busy Tuesday morning. We'll begin with that gunfire overnight. Multiple homes just west of Columbia struck by overnight gunfire. It's still unclear if anyone has been injured. We don't believe so. Our news partner ABC 17 is quoting Boone County Sheriff's deputies as saying the gunfire happened on West Bellevue Drive. That is near Scott Boulevard. A woman who lives nearby telling KMIZ's Joshua Blount that she heard about 20 gunshots at about 3 o'clock this morning. Joshua's been on scene since that gunfire happened overnight. He's been reporting live. We've also reached out to the Boone County Sheriff's Captain Brian Lear, but he's been busy. He is still on the scene working this case as well. So no injuries that we're aware of right now, but multiple homes struck by gunfire. And some of you who live in that area, if you live in that area, you need to check your home because multiple homes have been struck to make sure that your home was not damaged in that area. That's just outside of, just off Scott Boulevard. Meantime, one of Jefferson City's biggest employers will be expanding. We'll learn the details today.
Missouri Governor Mike Parson will join Hitachi Energy officials at their massive facility on Highway 94 for today's expansion announcement. They'll also celebrate the 50th anniversary of the plant, which opened in 1972. The plant manufactures transformers, a key element of the world's power grid. Parson spokeswoman Kelly Jones tells 93.9 The Eagle that about 75 people will attend the 11 a.m. event, including the governor, Hitachi Senior Vice President Steve McKinney, and Hitachi Jefferson City Factory Manager Greg Callahan. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
Parson spokesperson Kelly Jones also tells me they'll plant a tree today. The governor will be involved in that tree planting ceremony 11 o'clock this morning. The suspect accused of threatening to bomb a Columbia KinderCare will be extradited back to Missouri. A Boone County judge yesterday late in the afternoon ordering Alexander Green's extradition from Atchison, Kansas. You'll recall Green was captured at Atchison, about 20 miles from St. Joseph. Atchison Police Chief Mike Wilson tells 93.9 The Eagle his officers saw Green riding his bicycle downtown. He tells me the arrest happened quickly. Green has a history of calling and harassing the KinderCare here in Columbia, according to our news partner, ABC 17. The Missouri State Board of Mediation verifying election results. It shows employees of the Daniel Boone Regional Library have voted to unionize. Our news partner, ABC 17, reports the vote was 101-55. The American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees will represent the library workers. Now, the library has responded on its website to comments some of the workers made in the media about pay. The library says a new compensation system was implemented in 2022 and that the average increase for library staff was 10%. It was 6%, they say, for managers. The library also says the employees have received across-the-board salary increases since 2018. 2% last year, and the 3 years before that, 3% and 3%, respectively. That is according to the library. A freshman Democratic state lawmaker from Columbia has been working with several of his GOP colleagues in the Missouri House to bring both sides of the Capitol together to eat, both sides of the aisle at the Capitol. State Representative David Tyson Smith notes that didn't happen when he was first elected back in 2021.
On a few times we had meals together, but Republicans ate on one side, Democrats on another, and me and some Republicans got together, and we had, there was this idea of what if we had breakfast for everybody? So it was a bipartisan breakfast where we provided food for both sides to come together.
Representative Smith is a Hickman graduate. He's unopposed this fall for a second House term. And MU is suspending self-reporting requirement for COVID cases as they say they've reached a new stage as vaccination and testing availability and guidance from the CDC have evolved. Our news is brought to you this morning by The Candy Factory in downtown Columbia, thecandyfactoryonline.com. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:07. In sports, the Cardinals beat the Toronto Blue Jays last night at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Busy night downtown. The Cardinals and Blues both playing in the evening, separate times. Goldschmidt hit a home run in the 10th inning for a grand slam. St. Louis hosting the Blue Jays again tonight at Busch. First pitch 6:45 on 93.9 The Eagle. Diamondbacks beat the Royals last night. Chase Field in Phoenix 9-5. Game 2 of their series is tonight, 8:40 our time. And the Avalanche over the Blues last night. Enterprise Center 6-3. They take a 3-1 lead in the series. Condrey had a hat trick for the Avalanche. They're one win away from winning the series there in the NHL second round playoffs. Our news time, 7:08. All right, John, thanks so much. Great job on TV with Molly today. Our weather brought to you by Steve's Pest Control, stevespestcontrol.com, 58. 7:09 traffic check, midmohires.com. Local companies looking for local people. Midmohires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Our roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, you can call or text 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes, and we have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
And the 1-2 delivery is hit hard and deep to left field. Get up! Get up! And it is gone! A walk-off grand slam home run for Paul Goldschmidt.
Man, right here on 93.9 The Eagle last night. 2 outs, Paul Goldschmidt up to bat. Cardinals win in extra inning, second place, Central Division. I want to talk about the other big sports story out of St. Louis, out of Missouri here, and it bums me out. And it's not just that the Blues lost. I want to get you that. I want to make sure we're getting updated. Brian Hauswirth has been working very hard on this all morning, apparently. And here's why this is significant. This is a lot of, listen, when we hear about shootings, especially if it's north of 70 and east of 63, dime a dozen. That's the perception anyhow. So we would say, oh, it's another shooting in Columbia, whatever. But when it happens in places where you're not used to it happening, that's one thing. And apparently a lot of shots fired. What have you been able to learn so far this morning?
Yeah, and we take all shootings seriously, Brandon. There's no doubt about it. But this one involves multiple homes. This is a shooting that happened, shots fired. I'm not aware of any injuries. That would have happened about 3 o'clock this morning. Basically, the area we're talking about is right off of Scott Boulevard. It's West Bellevue Drive, just north of the MKT Trail, the J. Dick Station access. People know where that is. MKT Nature Trail is in that area as well. One witness reports that she heard 20 gunshots overnight about 3 o'clock this morning. And Joshua Blount from our news partner ABC 17 is quoting deputies as saying multiple homes have been struck by gunfire. Now, some of these are duplexes, some of them are homes. There's kind of a mix in that area. I believe there's some apartments as well. I'm going from memory on that, but it's unclear what caused it. And I know that the investigation is continuing. I'm waiting to hear back from Captain Lear, but he's been obviously swamped all morning. But for people just waking up, if they're in that area, they have an apartment or a home, it'd be a good idea to check their home to make sure that it has not been struck, because multiple homes, according to Joshua's reporting, have been struck this morning.
And then if you have to take different routes along Scott Boulevard, check out the beautification butterfly safe space zone. My gosh, some people in those neighborhoods along Scott Boulevard, and they've done incredible work out there, but they're letting the weeds grow. It's native grasses. It's and this is from the website, by the way. So there are signs. They took pictures and talked to some neighbors along Scott Boulevard. And if you know anything about this, would love to hear from you via text or phone call, 874-9390. They're letting the weeds grow, and they're calling it native grasses. And then as part of this beautification, butterfly, safe space, whatever it is, they're putting up metal signs that says, this is a no-mow zone. That doesn't sound like beautification to me. You're doing a beautification project, and then the city takes tax money out of your wallet, and then they go and plop those signs in that says, don't mow here. And some of the neighbors are like, no, because it's right here, and it makes my house look bad. And the website, wow.
It talks all about butterflies. And here's a quote. In November 2016, City Council signed the National Wildlife Federation's Mayor's Monarch Pledge that states the City of Columbia will take action to educate the public on monarch decline and restore native habitat to support the monarch butterfly.
Oh, my gosh. So if you're taking a different area this morning and you see, make sure you check that out. Darren's already asking off the text, what if someone went in and mowed it? Go for it, man. Because here's the other thing. Deer, you're on the edge of woods there, and the deer will come and bed there and right through a high-traffic area, because all that stuff is, people are moving in out there, and they're going, and the city's putting in weeds, beautification, safe space for butterflies.
Well, and some of those weeds are tall and they're in the median. And so I would think like they kind of obstruct your vision of what's going on the road. I don't understand how how it's not a safety issue in some instances.
And as we deftly covered yesterday, you know what kills more bugs? You bring in butterflies and bugs right into those reintroduction zones, whatever you want to call them for the butterfly. You know what kills butterflies?
Yeah, your car.
Your car windshield, man. My goodness. These are the people in charge. Wow. Welcome into the show. This is Wake Up Columbia. Darren wants to know, what if somebody went in and mowed it? Do it.
Just have to mow around those pesky signs.
Yeah. You can mow around. I don't know. See what happens. But I will also say this. See what happens if you put up a no. And by the way, these are metal signs. They're not, because I had that vision too when I first started hearing about this from neighbors in Thornbrook, or from in that area. They're like, yeah, we're not pleased.
I thought they were little temporary reminders, like political yard signs. Like they were just like, hey, just so you know. No, these are like no parking signs, like metal pole, big, expensive printed city signs with their website about butterflies.
So here's what I would encourage you to do. Two things that Steph and I would, well, I should speak for myself here for what I'm about to say next.
Yeah, don't implicate me.
I would encourage you to put up, just make your own, hell, have the kids do it before they get out of school here in the next few days. Have them draw a sign that says no mow zone. Put that up in your front yard, and don't mow your yard for a month. Hell, I don't care if you don't mow it till September. See what the city does to you. That's what I would like to encourage you to do this morning. And if you have kids listening in the car, when you're at school today, maybe the teacher in CPS will encourage students to make signs that say no mow zones. And then when you go home, you put that up in front of mom and dad's house and explain to them that you're doing a lesson here in civic duty from Branden Rathert from Wake Up Columbia 93.9 The Eagle. We're going to put these no mow signs, and we're going to dedicate this, which whatever that means, we're going to dedicate our front yard to monarch butterfly recovery.
And the sign that says no mow signs says nothing about the whole monarch butterflies. And with Columbia's obsession with art, I'm shocked that the signs like aren't orange and black and in the shape of a butterfly and say like butterfly safe space.
And then don't mow your yard forever, and see what the city does to you. Try it. Please try it. Plus, not to mention the mosquito and bug problems that I'm guessing. And by the way, I say high ends. That's a high end part of town. That's the 65203. That's the money zip, man. It's just incredible. And don't mow your yard. See how the city treats you. What happens when you don't mow your yard? And the other thing I would encourage you to do, please, I will buy however much postage stamps cost today. I will buy you a postage stamp. If you're one of those and you're not saving receipts to get a refund on the new 2.5-cent sales tax per gallon of gasoline, because I've been saving all of mine, probably $35-40 when I get my refund. But you got to save all the receipts. So here's the thing, and it's BS. They don't want you to get that money back. You know what you should do? If ever, and this is, I can't take credit for this. A good friend Stuart who had this idea. Take every if all of us just saved one receipt, every single driver in mid-Missouri saved one receipt, and you mail it, you put the necessary info on there, and we all send them to the Capitol, to Jeff City, and let them deal with that. See how fun that is while they're issuing, an 18-cent refund. Everybody doing it. One receipt. I would love that. 874-9390. No Mo. Clay, welcome to the show. What's up, bud?
Good morning, Eagle Crew. Just a fast, funny, no mowing story from my childhood. It was many years ago when we had the double swarm of grasshoppers and locusts out, and this gentleman did not mow his yard for a few weeks. He got very tall. So we made a paper sign that said Yard of the Week and hung it on his fence. And within 3 days, the swarm of grasshoppers had eaten that sign down to the tape that was hanging it on the fence.
Wow. Hey, Clay, man, I'm appreciative you take time out of your day to share that because you're making us laugh, and I'm guessing there's a lot of folks listening to you in their cars this morning, listening to you right now on 93.9 The Eagle, getting a giggle out of what you just said, man. I appreciate it. You're doing our job for us. Roy, what's up, buddy? Can't get Roy.
There we are.
There we are. What's up, Roy?
I love the monarchs. There's not enough of them. I love to mow my yard.
Yeah.
If you like both of those things, you can do what happened to me. I've got milkweed growing. They love it.
Isn't there such a thing as like a butterfly bush? I think my mother-in-law has one.
I've got those too, but they actually eat the milkweed, and I actually watch them lay their eggs there and hatch.
Man. Hey, thank you for sharing that. There's a company, by the way, and I sent myself an email reminder because I'll forget, but this company locally, like, they rent goats. They rent goats by the hour or by the day to come out to your house and take care of your property. I'm serious.
Really?
Yeah, I swear to God.
We need a fact check on this here.
Yeah, fact check it.
No, I mean, I don't know about Columbia specifically, but that's definitely a thing.
Yeah, it surprised me. By the way, thanks for this off the text. Notice of violation, Office of Neighborhood Services, City of Columbia. Can somebody please Photoshop this so I can go give this to City Hall? I'm going to write up the City of Columbia. Notice of violation. City of Columbia, City of Offer Neighborhood Services has observed code violation at this date, at this address, because you are the owner of the property. Following requirements related to landscape management, or I'm going to Photoshop this, and I'm going to go give this to the City of Columbia. I probably won't, but it's a fun thought. 874-9390. Timothy, you're on Scott Boulevard. What's up? Now, are you by where the shooting took place overnight, or are you talking about the weeds?
Both. They shot through the weeds. They couldn't see the car.
Okay, when I say shooting, I should say 20 shots fired as far as we know right now. No one shot. 20 shots fired.
Right now, I don't see any casings flying through the air, but of course you couldn't see the sidewalk if you wanted to with the car. It's like it needs a haircut, you know what I'm saying? It's getting retarded. It's ridiculous. What in the hell is wrong with these city people?
Yeah. Charles via text says, it's for the butterflies. Timothy, we appreciate you, bud. Be safe. Thanks for checking in with Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. And this somebody's confirming what I know. New texter, by the way. Thank you for being a part of the Wake Up Columbia family. So I took pictures. I don't know. There's very few plants that I know how to identify. But the pictures I took, and I was showing Stephanie this stuff. I was talking to neighbors on Sunday, so I've been showing these pictures along Scott Boulevard and those nasty weeds. They're not weeds. They're native grasses. It's a butterfly recovery zone. Right next to the highway where cars go 50 miles an hour. Guess what kills more butterflies than anything else?
Your car windshield.
Mostly thistle and weeds, not native wildflowers. I agree. There is a business on 7063 that mows the no-mow zone. Wish everyone would. Me too. 874-9390. Bruce, we'll give you one more crack at it. We got to get moving on to What's Hot with Hannah. What's on your mind? I'm sorry. Hey, Bruce, start over. Sorry.
Yeah, I was the city attorney over in Hope Summit, Missouri, and the mayor at one meeting said, before I open the meeting, I want to read you a letter that I got. And it said, Dear Mayor, he said, if you're thinking about arresting me for not mowing my yard, don't. Call Joe down at Joe's Small Engine Repair and tell him to fix my lawnmower.
I like it. A little sense of humor. Bruce, we appreciate you being a part of Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. Keep those pictures coming. 874-9390, 874-9390. Coming up, what's hot with Hannah? What do you have for us today?
I know how much you love TikTok, so I'm going to talk about a super viral TikTok that gave me goosebumps.
All right, that's coming up. What
People are talking about Branden Rathert.
He's a jackass.
This is Wake Up Columbia, 93.9 The Eagle.
The economy is actually bolstered really well by tourism. So folks taking their summer vacations, going to events or conventions in the summer. And then we have a number of amateur sports tournaments as well.
It's Columbia Convention and Visitors Bureau talking to ABC 17. Now that most of the kids are out of town following school being over, now we rely on some tourism during the summer months. That audio from ABC 17. Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Columbia. 7:25-ish, which means it's...
Wow, it's 7:29.
time for What's Hot with Hannah.
We're talking about TikTok. I hope that's okay. I know how you feel about TikToks, but this one has over 33 million views right now. So I am not alone in thinking that it's pretty cool. It's a love story. Two 18-year-olds.
Oh, well, they think it's a love story, but it's not.
So the girl in the relationship, her name is Leah. Her mom died when she was 7, and she has said the entire length of this relationship, she wished that her mom could have met her boyfriend. Well,
now I feel like a cretin for what I just said.
Well, when Leah met the boyfriend's parents, they got to looking at old scrapbooks, and they pull out a kindergarten class photo. And Leah's mom was her boyfriend's kindergarten teacher. So they had met before.
Aww.
Isn't that sweet?
That is. I need to keep my mouth shut more often.
Roll the Metallica.
I know, right? Coming up, the folks from the Mercatus Center. What about those arguments? Well, gas prices, it's because the corporations are really jacking up the prices right now. What about that argument? Want to hear her story. Veronique de Rugy, she's joining us here about 5 minutes from now on 93.9 The Eagle. ABC 17 storm track forecast. Maybe some showers, 71 today. Same thing tomorrow, high 77. Right now it's 58. It's termite swarm season. If you see black-bodied, long-winged insects, you might be having a swarm. Call Steve's Pest Control today for a no-cost eval or go to stevespestcontrol.com.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. Voters in 5 states are casting primary ballots today. The governor of Georgia has a Republican primary challenger.
Former President Trump has backed former Senator David Perdue in Georgia's Republican primary for governor, after repeatedly saying current Governor Brian Kemp has to go after his handling of Trump's 2020 election loss in the state. But Kemp remains the frontrunner.
Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. More babies were born in the United States last year.
The small 1% rise was a bit of a rebound from 2020, which saw the largest one-year drop in U.S. births in nearly 50 years. Officials from the CDC think last year's uptick reflects births from pregnancies that had been put off during the early uncertain days of the pandemic. The report based on a review of nearly all birth certificates issued last year.
Fox's Chris DeMeo. Anaheim, California Mayor Harry Sidhu resigns under FBI investigation for corruption. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 7:31 in Robinson saves you time. 58 right now in Columbia. We're expecting cloudy skies this morning, then rain throughout the later part of the day. Our high 71. Rain in the forecast again tonight. Low near 63. Good morning. Here's some of the stories we are working on for you at this hour. There has been a large law enforcement presence overnight on West Bellevue Drive in Boone County. That is near Scott Boulevard. It's outside the Columbia city limits, but not by much. Our news partner, ABC 17, reports multiple homes have been struck by overnight gunfire. No word yet on any possible injuries. We have reached out to the Boone County Sheriff's Captain Brian Lear. As soon as we get more information, we will pass it along to you. He has been busy on scene. University of Missouri suspending the self-reporting requirement for COVID cases. They're also suspending their data tracking dashboard. The MU Incident Command leader, John Middleton, has written a letter to the Mizzou community. He says faculty and staff members now expected to manage their own personal health for COVID as they do with other contagious diseases. Employees at the Daniel Boone Regional Library vote to unionize.
The unofficial vote tally shows that a little over 65% of the Daniel Boone Regional Library staff voted in favor of forming a union. Now, the unofficial results for the Labor Department state that out of the 156 valid votes processed, 101 employees voted in favor of unionizing.
That's Megan Drakis there reporting, and an expansion project will be announced this morning. Hitachi Energy, Jefferson City, the former ABB plant. News brought to you by Willett Dental Associates, WillettDentalAssociates.com. Our news time, 7:33. In sports, the St. Louis Cardinals beat Toronto last night. It went into 10 innings. Paul Goldschmidt homering in that 10th inning for a grand slam. Cardinals win it 7-3. St. Louis hosting the Blue Jays again tonight at Busch Stadium. First pitch, 6:45 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Diamondbacks beat the Royals last night. Chase Field, Phoenix, 9-5. Game 2 in that series, 8:40 our time. And the Colorado Avalanche beat the Blues last night at the Enterprise Center, 6-3. They're up in the series right now, 3-1. Contrary with a hat trick for the Avalanche. They need one more win. They'll take the series. It heads back right now to Ball Arena, and Game 5 in that series will be tomorrow in Denver. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Witt Print Shop, where your printed products are so much more than ink and paper. 93.9 The Eagle News Time, 7:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies are looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Our roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, you can give us a call or a text, 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
De Rugy. Veronique de Rugy. Okay, I'm going to put you back on hold. Thank you.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
$1.60 a gallon. That's up more than 10 cents a gallon from last week, almost 50 cents from last month. We're 1 week away from Memorial Day. Should Americans be buckling up for these high prices for the entire summer?
Well, we're doing everything we can to try to bring those prices down. As you know, this all emanates from Putin's decision to invade Ukraine, which took Russian oil off the market.
Not all of it.
I appreciated the honesty of Jake Tapper, CNN, calling out this White House economic advisor, Brian D., saying, no, you can't, because they keep trying to call it Putin's price hike. It's Biden's price hike. That's why I'm excited to have on Veronique de Rugy. She is a senior research fellow with the Mercatus Center. But first, I do want to mention this. We were talking earlier about, I thought it would be fun. We were talking about the decision along Scott Boulevard to let it's not weeds, they're native flowers. And then also talking about the idea of every driver in the state of Missouri just saved one receipt and sent that to the Department of Revenue. What a pain, because you get your refund, it goes to the Department of Revenue. If everybody did one receipt, you get back like 13 cents. But, man, it will overload the state, and it'll show them. And I want to make sure I have Steph in on this so you can verify. Look who I just heard from. You don't have to give the name, but since we have talked about that, I have heard from the
government.
Department of Revenue. All right, let me try to hide from this one and bring in Veronique de Rugy. Thank you for joining us, Senior Research Fellow, Mercatus Center. So you heard the audio there. CNN's Jake Tapper. I appreciated the fact he's calling out Brian Deese because everybody, this gas price hike is all this inflation. It's Putin's price hike, or especially with gas prices, I see people all the time, well, it's the oil companies. They're jacking up prices more than where they need to be to make profits. When you hear people saying those things, how do you combat that?
That energy prices, first, good morning. Thank you for having me. Energy prices starting rising long before the war started. The war in Ukraine started, and so I think there's no question that what we call a supply shock, basically the constraint in oil. The increase in prices, it's not it's not unique. It's not a uniquely Putin's fault. The same thing is true about blaming corporations for being greedy. Let's not forget that Elizabeth Warren, who is the most vocal one with the administration at calling company greedy and responsible for inflation, was also calling this company greedy before we had inflation, and in fact was saying that if price were going down, it's because companies were greeding and offshoring jobs. So, I mean, they're just making, these are political excuses to hide the fact that the inflation, the core inflation that we have, if you take away the increase in prices due to Ukraine and to the war in Ukraine, really, is due to over-expensive money printing and massive increase in spending, in particular the American Rescue Plan.
See, and here's why our guest is with the Mercatus Center, Senior Research Fellow Veronique de Rugy, and I love this because now I hear it from you, and it's what I've been saying all along. And Veronique, I'm just a blue-collar working Joe Schmo in the middle of Missouri, okay? And so I feel good about my argument to people who say, well, it's the corporate greed. That's why I point them just to facts, which it sounds like what you're doing. You can look at gas prices since January 20th of 2021. Am I right? Gas prices have gone up since then. Yeah. And
you can look at energy prices in general.
Yeah, energy prices in general.
It's like you can see the price.
Yep. All right. I'm sorry, but we're getting a bad signal. I'm going to have to let you go there. We're not being rude. Apparently, we're having an issue, either probably on our end if you can still hear us, but if you can't still hear us, it's probably your fault. Welcome into the show. It's Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle. I wasn't being mean. He was being factual because some people get upset when you say, well, I don't know whose fault it was. It was probably her phone because I don't want it to be our fault. Why the look?
That was just... I felt like it was kind of rude.
Well, she can't hear me. She's losing a signal. How is that rude? It's not rude if people don't hear it. It's like gossip. You talk behind people's back and tell stories you shouldn't tell.
Still rude.
Which I agree, but nobody hears it. Okay. Nobody hears it. Okay, let's move forward. I wanted to do, because we've got a couple of cool things coming up on the show this morning. Coming up just before 8 o'clock, what Dems are saying about Dems. And I love this because, and here's why people go after national news outlets, in case you're a newish listener to Wake Up Columbia here on 93.9 The Eagle. The national news outlets, why they go after them, it's not because they disagree with what we think. It's because they carry the water, in effect, for Dems, I think, is the generalized, accepted version. That's why people don't like the mainstream news, as they call it. I don't like to use the phrase mainstream media because it's an overused cliche.
Corporate media? What's a big media? I don't know what the right term is now. But yeah, no, they're definitely in the bag for the D's.
So when we talk about them, that's why we say, hey, they're carrying the water. But now it's so bad because what do? And I go back to, I liken it to relationships. You know, you got to have your, because I'm so good at that. When we, in a relationship, you have somebody's back. You have your friend's back. Whether the relationship is a friendship, you always have your friend's back. So it's the same with these progressives. They always back each other. But this is the reality of how bad it is. The national news outlets are finally having to get honest. And that's a good thing, maybe, because if people are watching that and voting and going, maybe all those things those people said before Joe got elected, maybe those people were right, because I'm having to make big decisions at the gas pump every day, and then the groceries, and then I can't get the parts delivered for this, and my poor baby can't get any baby formula.
Well, are they getting honest, or are they just putting their thumb on the scale of the direction of the Democrat Party? Because what we know right now is Republicans and Democrats both are kind of having this internal struggle of where's the party going in the future. Are Republicans the party of Trump, or are they some other, establishment, more traditional Republican Party? And the Democrats, that you've seen a lot of progressive challengers in their primaries. Are they the party of Joe Biden or are they the party of Bernie Sanders? And so I think some of the mainstream media is hitting back on Joe Biden because they know he's going to lose anyway, so it's kind of an easy target. But also because they would love to see the Democrats move further, even further to the left.
And I wonder, too, CNN, by the way, there's apparently some seismic changes going on there, and I don't know if it's going to work. But whoever new management is, because all the people that made CNN, whatever it was, are gone. Chris Cuomo, the people in the leadership positions. So now new folks coming in saying news is gone. It caters to the left or to the right. And it's not even about catering to the middle as much as it's just catering to, here's the news. Here's the news. Would you watch CNN if it went straight news? And I think they'd forever be harmed by the fact that their call letters would still be
CNN.
And I don't know that you'd be able to change any. But if we had just a straight-up news service, and don't get me wrong, I like to watch all the stuff and read from all different ideologies, but to get a TV newscast with just the news.
Good luck.
Exactly. I don't know if that would work out. This is kind of interesting. Part of town in Columbia, so this is where Logboat Brewery is. And I know nothing else around Logboat Brewery. I know Logboat Brewery.
You were quite familiar with that place back in the day.
Logboat Snapper, best beer I've ever had in my life. And I've drank a lot of beer. Logboat Snapper, best beer I've ever had. So I'm familiar with Logboat Brewery. But in that area of town, did happen to go through there the other day, and like there's some things going up around there. Like there's a popular food truck, Ozark Biscuit. Yeah, they've actually put it in like a little restaurant there. And now there's a movement actually to kind of give the area a name, like a part of town. And we see this. Well, you have your downtowns, and that's simple. But actually things like you name a part of town, like, for example, best example I have is St. Louis.
Soulard.
Right.
Shaw.
Yeah. You have different neighborhoods. And I love what they're doing there because I think it's awesome. It's because you could say, hey, I went to Broadway Street or whatever. Or you say, hey, I went to Soulard. Mm-hmm. I went to this area, and it gives us some naming, and I think that's pretty cool. Exactly what is it that they're doing there? We'll have that coming up just a few minutes from now here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. You can listen live. You can watch the show. Go to our YouTube channel. One call does it all. And you know who makes that possible? The one call does it all, because that's what really just about anything you need: landscaping, some work on your irrigation system. You need regular maintenance on your lawn, leaf removal, snow removal. We say one call does it all. But you know why it only takes one phone call? And you know why they do it all? It's because of the employees at Salter Lawn Service. They take care of their employees. And employees take care of them, and they take care of your yard, your leaves, what have you. And they are hiring people like you. If you love what you do, you like being outdoors, and you want a job. By the way, this is not a job. I'm talking career, honest to goodness, career opportunities, 401k, paid time off, all that good stuff. Signing bonus after 30 days. Check them out. Learn more about these potential career opportunities at Salter Lawn Service. Salter, one call, does it all.
Wake Up Columbia with an eye on the world and a focus on you. 93.9 The Eagle.
It didn't have a name similar to the district or the North Village Arts District. And so we thought it might be good to give it a brand and identify the whole neighborhood.
Now that's John Ott talking to KOMU Channel 8. So this area around Longboat Brewery is going to be called the Stockyards. Apparently back in the 1800s, it housed buildings for industries like brickmaking, stockyards, meatpacking. I didn't know that about that part of Columbia, which is pretty interesting.
That's neat. I like it. And it just gives like a better like community identity, I think, when you've got these like little, I know like, you know, usually you name your downtown, but like Jeff City kind of has like old Munichburg. Yeah. And I just love that.
I think that's pretty cool. And no taxpayer dollars. It's just some business owners getting together saying, hey, here's what we're going to do. So some of the folks you could check out down there and support them. Thank you for being here on the show this morning. That's Stephanie Bell. My name is Branden Rathert. Coming up, we've got somebody really cool coming on. What made me think of this, something Stephanie did the other day here on the show. It was this so everything that the Biden administration has done is backfiring. It doesn't work. It's just, regardless of the level, whether you're talking about, you know, our, killing some of our service members and our fellow Americans in Afghanistan, whether it's saying stupid stuff, what have you, whether it's the failed Putin's price hike when we know factually this is Biden's price hike. Everything, all of this stuff has been happening since January 20th, 2021. But Stephanie made me think of this the other day when we were talking about the newest phrase they were trying to use is ultra MAGA. And Stephanie said, wouldn't that be cool actually to get a t-shirt or something like that? Mm-hmm. You can buy shirts now that say ultra MAGA. As a matter of fact, Dems talking about Dems, MSNBC's Betty Hassan dunking on the president here.
It's bizarre because when it comes to calling out Republicans, you've got these kind of, I don't know, cutesy names being used by Democrats. You know, apparently Democratic polling groups and focus groups spent months coming up with ultra MAGA, which Joe Biden started using, but immediately the Republican Party just borrowed and started selling merch.
So MSNBC, again, another national news outlet saying, man, things are bad.
That's the best, when someone tries to insult you and calls you a name and you're like, yeah, I'll take that.
Sure.
Thanks for the cool new catchphrase, Joe.
Yeah, what a great marketing opportunity. Got this. More Dems talking about Dems. Terry Moran, he is actually had a very nice visit. Terry Moran was here in 2018. He was here the night that Josh Hawley was here doing a campaign appearance. And Donald Trump, President Trump, the Columbia Regional Airport, campaigned on behalf of Josh Hawley. All right, yeah, campaigned on behalf of Josh Hawley, was running for Senate at the time, and got to chat. And so Terry Moran was hanging out with us at our 93.9 The Eagle table because there wasn't a whole lot of room because it's the Columbia Regional Airport pre-new terminal, so there wasn't a lot of room. So the whole time we're sitting there with Terry Moran from ABC News, the national ABC News. Here's what they're saying about your president.
It sure doesn't. And the baby formula issue is shocking to Americans. It's shocking. The political ramifications of it are profound. This can't be our country, where babies are at risk of dying. I mean, if this goes on for a few more weeks, it's possible we're going to lose someone in this country because of this. The Biden administration knew about it in February. Whatever came afterwards, whatever the investigations determined, the buck stops in the Oval Office.
So you've got the national news outlets. They're either taking the gauge of the American folks and realizing, yeah, it's that bad to the point they can't even lie anymore. You've got them doing that. And listen, I saw recent polling, like 70% of Republicans would support, following the midterms, which conservatives and Republicans should easily win, impeach Biden. But the problem with that, look who's next in line. It would be Kamala Harris. She would be next in line if the president were to be impeached.
And then the vice president would be.
So
oh, no.
This woman, so when you get impeached, vice president becomes president. This woman would become president.
You know, when we talk about our children, I know for this group, we all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are the children of the community.
I always defer to Hannah because Hannah got out of college more recenter than I have. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe I missed something here. And I'm like,
You know, when we talk about our children, I know for this group, we all believe that when we talk about the children of the community, they are the children of the community.
So I always look to Hannah. Maybe I'm missing something.
I mean, factually, she's not wrong.
Okay.
But what is she trying to say?
So as a young conservative who's 22 years old, by the way, so if you're a newer, younger listener to Wake Up Columbia, welcome aboard. Stephanie's younger, too, than me.
Oh. You're just the old white guy.
I know. That's my tag. And Hannah's 22, and Stephanie is, I think she's like 28, 29. And I'm a 51-year-old white dude. Sometimes I think I'm 53. So I understand that. That woman would become the president of the United States. So the polling that says 70% of Republicans would demand that the new Republican-controlled Congress impeach the president doesn't make any sense. And Hannah is a 22-year-old self-thinker, conservative, that strikes you the same way. Like, this woman, she doesn't know what she's talking about either.
Yeah, she don't make a lick of sense.
All right. By the way, speaking of that ultra MAGA stuff, there is a company called MammothNation.com. I don't know if you are familiar with Mammoth Nation, but it's owned by veterans. They sell a bunch of like American stuff. But it's not just gear with flags and stuff on it. They get behind causes. And I know there's a lot of T-shirt companies that do that kind of stuff. But Mammoth Nation, what they do, I mean, this is a whole different level of story, and not just the products that you can buy and some of the services that they can do. I think it's just really a neat organization run by veterans. And ahead, we're 1 month out from our annual Central Missouri Honor Flight Radiothon. That's coming up on Friday, June the 25th. So just ahead of that, we wanted to have on Drew Berquist and the folks from Mammoth Nation. Hear what they can do, how they can support your beliefs, how you can support their beliefs, and the cool swag you can buy from the website. That's coming up about 10 minutes from now here on Wake Up Columbia on 93.9 The Eagle.
It's a race pitting former President Trump against his vice president. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. A Republican battle for governor in Georgia. David Perdue is backed by Trump, who wants Brian Kemp unseated for not doing enough to overturn the state's 2020 election results. Perdue says,
if we want a Republican conservative back in the White House in 24 and we want a Senate majority back this year, we have to win this governor's race in Georgia.
Mr. Perdue, he just riding the coattail of the MAGA king.
He's among voters at a diner in Georgia telling Fox they agree with ex-VP Mike Pence that Kemp should be reelected.
Kemp isn't for the party, Kemp is for the people. Yeah, and I think that makes a lot of difference.
There are also primaries today in Arkansas and Alabama, where Congressman Mo Brooks is trying to overcome losing a Trump endorsement in a Republican Senate primary. In Texas, there are runoffs from the March primaries. In Minnesota, a seat in the House is up for grabs in primaries. Fox's Jeff Manasso.
20 people have filed for candidacy to fill the vacant 1st Congressional District seat that covers much of southern Minnesota that was held by Republican Rep. Jim Hagedorn, who died in February.
That's Fox's Jeff Manasso again. One of the candidates is Hagedorn's widow, Jennifer Carnahan, though she's in legal battles with Hagedorn's family. His sister endorsed another candidate. President Biden's flying home his Asia trip over. Before leaving, he was asked about Taiwan again.
Our policy has not changed at all. I stated that when I made my statement yesterday.
Insisting U.S. policies not changed, though he angered China yesterday, saying if it attacked Taiwan, the U.S. would get involved militarily. American policy is just to help Taiwan defend itself. The president will return with gas prices at a record high again today. AAA is just shy of $4.60 a gallon for regular. Diesel's close to a record.
Last year it was $3.17. The White House is reportedly considering releasing diesel now from the nation's strategic reserve because farmers and truckers are so dependent on it.
That's Fox's Jackie Heinrich in Tokyo. America's listening to Fox News.
America could face 1970s-style stagflation. That means slow economic growth, high unemployment, and high inflation. The implications for hard-working Americans could be catastrophic, but you can protect your savings. Hi, this is Stephen K. Bannon. I want to remind you that high inflation is not a financial death sentence. By diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into physical gold IRA, from Birch Gold Group, you can protect your retirement savings from the ravages of inflation. I'm proud to be a customer of Birch Gold, and I highly recommend their free information kit to anyone interested in gold and silver. To get your free copy, simply text the word PROTECT to 989898. It's critical you get this information before stagflation bleeds through your savings. So text PROTECT to the number 989898. That's PROTECT to 989898 to get your free information kit on gold. There's no obligation or purchase required.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. It is 8:03 and Robinson saves you time. 59 degrees, cloudy skies here in Columbia. Rain in the forecast today. I want to have your umbrella handy. Our high today around 71. Rain in the forecast again for tonight as well. Good morning. Here's some of the stories that we are working on for you at this hour. Multiple homes just west of Columbia were struck by overnight gunfire, but it's unclear yet if anyone has been injured. We don't believe so. Our news partner, ABC 17 News, quotes the Boone County Sheriff's deputies saying gunfire happened on West Bellevue Drive about 3 o'clock this morning. That is near Scott Boulevard. It is near the trail. A woman who lives nearby telling KMIZ's Joshua Blount she heard about 20 gunshots at about 3 o'clock this morning. Still waiting to hear back from Captain Brian Lear from the Boone County Sheriff's Department, who is also involved in this investigation. One of Jefferson City's largest employers will be expanding. They're also celebrating a key anniversary here in a few hours.
Missouri Governor Mike Parson will join Hitachi Energy officials at their massive facility on Highway 94 for today's expansion announcement. They'll also celebrate the 50th anniversary of the plant, which opened in 1972. The plant manufactures transformers, a key element of the world's power grid. Parson spokeswoman Kelly Jones tells 93.9 The Eagle that about 75 people will attend the 11 a.m. event, including the governor, Hitachi Senior Vice President Steve McKinney, and Hitachi Jefferson City Factory Manager Greg Callahan. Don Luzader, 93.9 The Eagle.
That plant's been known as ABB and Westinghouse over the years, now officially known as Hitachi Energy. Meantime, the State Board of Mediation has verified election results that show that employees at the Daniel Boone Regional Library have voted to unionize. ABC 17's Megan Drakis reports the vote was 101-55, that the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees will represent the library workers. The library officials on their website have responded to some of the comments made in the media by the workers about pay as well as safety. Now, the library says their top priority has been the issue of COVID. The library also says a new compensation system was implemented in 2022 and that the average increase for library staff was 10%. 6%, they say, for managers. The library also says employees have received across-the-board salary increases since 2018. 2% last year, the last 3 years before that, 3% each year, according to the library. A freshman Democratic state lawmaker from Columbia has been working with several GOP freshmen to bring both sides of the aisle together to eat. State Representative David Tyson Smith notes that didn't happen when he was first elected to the Missouri House back in 2021.
On a few times we had meals together, but Republicans ate on one side, Democrats on another, and me and some Republicans got together, and we had, there was this idea of what if we had breakfast for everybody? So it was a bipartisan breakfast where we provided food for both sides to come together.
Representative Smith, a Hickman graduate, unopposed this fall for a second House term. And Veterans United is sponsoring today a Scholastic Book Fair for the children at Shepherd Boulevard Elementary here in Columbia. That book fair starts here in about an hour, 9 o'clock this morning, goes to 2:30 this afternoon. They did a similar book fair yesterday, and the reason that Veterans United is doing this is they say they want to help solve the issue of book access for younger children, that we're seeing an unprecedented number of students without access to books. They say that is one of the contributing factors to the rise of literacy gaps across the country. That is going on today, 9 to 2:30 at the Shepherd Boulevard Elementary School here in Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:07, and news is brought to you this morning by the Anderson Windows, Kansas City and Central Missouri. You can schedule your custom replacement window and patio door consultation today. Renewalbyanderson.com. 8:07. In sports, let's start this hour with the St. Louis Cardinals. We are your home for Cardinal baseball. The Cardinals beat the Toronto Blue Jays 7-3. You heard Branden play the clip from Rick Horton. Great call last night as he described Paul Goldschmidt hitting a 2-out grand slam in the 10th inning. Cardinals beat the Blue Jays by a score of 7-3. St. Louis and Toronto again tonight, Busch Stadium. First pitch 6:45 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Diamondbacks beat the Royals last night. Chase Field, Phoenix 9-5. Game 2 the series tonight at 8:40 our time. And the Colorado Avalanche beating the Blues last night at the Enterprise Center 6-3. They take a 3-1 lead in the series. Condrey had a hat trick for the Avalanche. They are one win away from winning the series. Now, Fox 2 in St. Louis is reporting that at least one Blues fan was thrown out of the arena last night saying something, we don't know what, to Condrey and to the Avalanche bench. Another fan had to be warned as well. Again, unclear exactly what the man did that was thrown out, but he was tossed out of the arena, and that happened last night. A lot of security around that bench because of alleged threats. Our time, 8:08. All right, John, thanks. Great work today. We appreciate you, and Molly Stanoga as well. Great job this morning. Weather brought to you by Steve's Pest Control, stevespestcontrol.com. Here in Columbia, cloudy, 59. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com at 8:09. Local companies are looking for local people. Pretty quiet on the roads this morning. We appreciate all the texts as always. Branden and Stephanie and Hannah receive. We do appreciate that. Lots of comments on our Facebook page and dozens of comments about this 63 and Grindstone project. Many of you unhappy with the current condition of that intersection, the interchange. You can always weigh in on our Facebook page, 93.9 The Eagle. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. Breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, 93.9 The Eagle.
This ride started back in 1989 to honor the Vietnam vets, the guys that didn't come back.
I think in Vietnam still there's somewhere between 1,400 and 1,500 missing American soldiers. So this run is to call attention to that.
All my family that have been vets that aren't with us right now, I carry them with me.
I'm riding basically because I had a buddy of mine that was killed in Afghanistan, and I escorted him, and he was a motorcycle rider.
It's always fulfilling to see people that are willing to extend themselves a little bit, make an extra effort to show their patriotism, and that's really what this is about.
Yesterday afternoon, Brian Hauswirth and I here at the radio station, a lot of folks calling, what's that large, massive motorcycle presence coming through Columbia? What's going on? It was a beautiful sight, by the way. And that is an annual event. It's called the Run for the Wall Motorcycle Ride. Been doing it for 32 years. Didn't do it, I think, for a couple of years because the government probably wouldn't let them. But these are riders, ambassadors, road crews, chaplains, making their way. I think they start like in California and they go all the way to D.C. and along the route, people join them. Other motorcycles join them, and they do this in memory of those especially that were killed in action and those that are MIA coming through Columbia. And I thought it was so beautiful to see as we get ready for our Central Missouri Honor Flight Radiothon. We've been doing, I think we're doing 10 years now. I think we're getting close. That comes up less than a month. That's Friday, June the 24th. We are doing it, yes, intentionally, on a feel-good Friday. And it reminds me of the company called Mammoth Nation. It is a website, Mammoth Nation. Such a big fan of it. Brought in Drew Berquist, who is with MammothNation.com. So basically, and I know you'll do a better job than me, but this is kind of like a collection of companies all in one spot, Drew, where we know, okay, they don't buy into the woke stuff, and it's conservatives, it's veteran-owned. Tell us more about Mammoth Nation.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. It's great to be with you guys. Yeah, I mean, we, like so many other people, became fed up with just kind of the culture that has been developing in corporate America and how many companies have gone woke, how many companies have waded into politics. And it became really difficult for people to determine, hey, where do we shop? Like, where do we go to get, this product or that product? So we spent a lot of time vetting companies, talking to companies, kind of getting a sense of who they are, where their values align, making sure they're pro-America. A lot of them are, as you mentioned, veteran-owned. And we brought them all together. We've got over 300 companies on Mammoth Nation for our members who save. By being a member with us, they save on their purchases with these companies that they know are pro-America and they can feel good about buying from. And then we take proceeds and we put them towards conservative causes.
And I want to say this, in talking about Mammoth Nation, this is not just ball caps and T-shirts with American flags on them. I don't want you to get, because that would completely miss the mark on what you guys do. It seems, and if you get onto the website, MammothNation.com, there is just a whole stack of different categories. I mean, we're talking food, we're talking sporting goods, jewelry, coffee, and tea. So what do you guys do? What's the vetting process? Saying, okay, yeah, we know that you're veteran-owned, obviously, but we also know that you at the very least, you're not into this woke BS.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of because we get pitched all the time by people who would love to come on and be a part of our marketplace, and it's a matter of going back, talking to them, of course, going back, looking at kind of their socials, looking at kind of what they've done in the media, what their stances have been. We're A-okay with politically neutral too. I mean, a lot of ours are conservative for sure. A lot of them, again, are veteran-owned and Christian-owned, you name it. But we're okay with the other. It's finding the people who are outspoken about their beliefs and are going the opposite direction that our country's always been on. And I'll be honest too, it's tricky, especially early on, because there's a lot of companies who had not waded into politics yet, hadn't really spoken out. They just were, which was what you should be doing, right? You should be a capitalist and just selling to whoever wants your product. And there's a lot of people who fell in that category, and then they would wade in later at a later date, whether it was surrounding a riot or whether it was surrounding, you fill in the blank with any topical discussion, and we'd have to make changes and adjust from there. So we've gotten smarter in how we vet people and what we're looking for. But to your point, we do. I mean, there's so many things, from cell phones to travel to beauty to business and finance to wine, you name it. We've got great companies that we've partnered with on there that our members can save on.
So it'd be almost like, it looks like I can buy most things on here. It's almost like going to a superstore, but I know every single thing on MammothNation.com. And I love the idea, by the way, I'm serious, Drew, not that I play the middle, but I love the idea, or at the very least, politically neutral, doesn't wade into the issues, or that we know they're conservatives. Because, and here's the thing, and I think what you guys have done, I think it's really good, because how many times we're going to boycott Nike, we're going to boycott this, and it never works. But at the very least, I don't want to buy goods from those places that are vocal about their support for things that I morally disagree with. So this is not like a boycott. It's just saying, here's a different way to shop, and you can shop with confidence, making sure none of your money is going to a company that is then throwing their money at these causes that we're incredibly uncomfortable with.
Absolutely. And look, it's a tough we all look. Everyone has traditionally gone to Amazon, you fill in the blank, wherever you get your wine and alcohol, wherever you get your coffee, wherever you get all of these things. And it is a difficult thing, because we're all creatures of habit when we break it down. So it's hard to find companies sometimes and to dig through that. We've done that work for people. We've done the legwork. Now you just got to come on over to Mammoth Nation and seek out what you're looking for. If there's a category or a product you're looking for, we probably have a company we've partnered with. In many cases, we might have several that we've partnered with that offer those products.
This is so nice, and I love the idea of voting with your dollars rather than boycotting, of being able to vote with your dollars and make those choices for yourself. I know some people, Missouri candidates and other businesses, have kind of gotten embarrassed because they've gone to give something out. They purchased something online, didn't do the proper vetting, and someone else has said, did you know where you actually got that item? And so you're kind of doing the work for people. So if I'm a business owner or a candidate, I could go on here and get something and know with confidence I'm not going to be embarrassed by what I might learn about that product that I, bought to give away.
Exactly. No, you're so right. I mean, it's probably one of the biggest value. There's a lot of reasons to join Mammoth Nation and go to MammothNation.com. But one of the biggest things is what you just said there. You don't have to take time away from your busy schedule of work or raising your family to figure out which companies do it. We've done that for you. And look, it's not perfect either. Like I said before, there's some that then disappoint us and have maybe a change in leadership and they change their tune. But we are always quick to make sure that they're no longer partnered with Mammoth Nation once those types of events happen.
Drew Berquist, MammothNation.com. It's almost like a super center. Like you go and buy most stuff, whatever it is you're looking for, like you would at like a Walmart or something. But these are all companies that are veteran-owned, or they're conservative or politically neutral. I love this idea. So does Sandy. Text 874-9390. Thanks for the info on Mammoth Nation. Have been looking for a list of non-woke companies for a while. I notice Disney is not on your website anywhere. I've been looking.
Yeah, that relationship is soured. Yeah.
I'm envisioning somebody sitting at Disney using your app trying to buy conservative supported stuff. Hey, how did you, before we let you go, I am kind of curious, because this is I love this idea of MammothNation.com. How did you guys come up with this idea? How did this come into being?
Well, we had some individuals that had worked in various marketplaces, digital marketplaces before, and had kind of cut their teeth there and done some great jobs with different membership programs and what have you. And, post 2016, when the world kind of turned itself upside down after the election, and obviously it's been a roller coaster ride ever since then, and the woke left really kind of took their masks off, it just became clear to the founders and everyone involved with Mammoth that something like this was needed. It just was, abundantly clear, like, because as you're saying, everyone was boycotting and everyone's canceling. And I personally am not a huge boycotter or cancel guy. I just, it's like you said, let's vote with our dollar. Just, you don't have to make a big, fit about it. Just go shop somewhere that you feel good about and that is in alignment with your values. So we saw the need for that, and given the experience of some of the different team members, we put this together, and here we are.
874-9390, 874-9390. Well, I appreciate what you guys have done there. I think it is an incredibly unique idea, and I like the idea that it's not just about conservative causes. At the very least, it's companies that are just politically stay out of stuff. I don't care what your politics are, but I do care when you go in campaign and push hard and you threaten dollars by saying, well, you do this. I look at what happened to those poor people, the poor, especially the black business owners in Atlanta, and how much money they lost whenever Major League Baseball yanked the All-Star game for incredibly idiotic reasons. As a matter of fact, we have revealed this morning all that stuff with these are Jim Crow laws, and they weren't. Guess what's happened in Georgia since the enaction of those Jim Crow laws, is all the national news outlets call them. Guess what's happened since then?
Record high early turnout.
God. Drew, it has been very nice to meet you, and I hope we get an opportunity to chat with you all again soon.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for having us.
All right, thank you. Coming up this morning here on the show, I've got a little surprise for Hannah. It's not a big thing. It's just a minor thing. And you'll be able to see that. I would suggest, as a matter of fact, you go to watch our channel on the Wake Up Columbia, the 93.9 the Eagle channel.
I'm scared.
No, it's not that big of a thing. It's not like I went back to the candy factory.
Hey, you got it right.
Got it right. Well, and here's the idea. Their jingle is incredible. It's, let's see what's new in the candy kitchen. Everybody knows that jingle for the candy factory. So I keep calling it the candy kitchen because the jingle is so catchy and effective, apparently. I went and so I got a gift basket for my sister, who was just appointed a police chief in a small town along I-70. Loved it so much, so I'm going back into the place. I'm like, do you guys deliver? Because I got some grandkids. They love sugar. Their parents aren't big fans, but they love sugar.
Yeah, your son and daughter-in-law are going to be thrilled.
And here was the cool thing. There's a lot of stuff that's like not candy. There was stuff, I spent $150 packed on ice, $150 worth of stuff yesterday.
Dang.
For the grandkids from the candy.
Grandpa Branden is showing up.
Well, I'm trying not to be a Disney grandfather, Oh, it's just not all the good stuff. Coming up, we're going to be doing the Morning Bell Business News.
Catch Wake Up Columbia on demand anytime, all the time at 9390eagle.com.
Good morning, 8:28, time for the Morning Bell business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
So we've been talking a little bit about how people boycott businesses, but what happens when the businesses decide to boycott the people? So we talked about last week, I think it was McDonald's announced they were going to pull out of Russia over Russia's actions in Ukraine. Adding to that list is Starbucks. So all 130 Starbucks stores in Russia have been closed, and Starbucks plans to basically exit the country. But interestingly enough, though, other folks are also looking at it, but not just at Russia and Ukraine. Hannah put me onto this. Airbnb is closing its domestic business in China. And saying, you know what, we're not gonna go there. We're not gonna deal with these folks. And so I think, a lot of times businesses make decisions that we don't like. But these are some interesting ones when they're basically boycotting a whole country and saying, you know what, we're out. We don't believe in what you're doing. We don't believe in how you're treating people, and we're not going to operate there. And I think that's a strong stance by a business, and sometimes I think it's warranted.
I like it. That's the Morning Bell business news with that little twist that only Stephanie Bell can give you. Still no winner in the Pennsylvania election. Should something break on that, obviously Fox will have more on that as it happens. And one of the things Brian's been following this morning off of Scott Boulevard is kind of north of Water School Road. Apparently 20 shots fired in an area overnight. Going to see what the latest is there, but apparently 20 shots fired. Those are the reports. As far as we know right now, nobody was injured. Coming up about 5 minutes from now, did you hear who is unionizing in the city of Columbia? And it's making statewide news because apparently it's the only one in the state of Missouri to do it. We'll have that. And then a little surprise for Hannah, the producer.
Steve's Pest Control reminding you that it's termite swarm season. If you see black-bodied long-winged insects, you may be having a swarm. Call Steve's Pest Control today for a no-cost evaluation or visit stevespestcontrol.com.
Fox News, I'm Chris Foster. The polls are open in 5 states holding primaries today, including primary runoffs in Texas and in Georgia.
In the Senate race, former NFL player Herschel Walker had been favored. In the governor's race, the field is crowded, but the top 2 choices remain the incumbent Brian Kemp and former Senator David Perdue, who was recruited to run against Kemp by former President Donald Trump.
Fox's Evan Brown. They're voting in Arkansas and in Alabama.
GOP Congressman Mo Brooks is the most notable name in the Republican race to succeed retiring Senator Richard Shelby. For a while, Brooks had Donald Trump's endorsement, but that was taken away after Brooks urged the former president to move on from 2020. Shelby's former chief of staff, Katie Britt, is also in the race.
Fox's Gernal Scott. There's a special primary for a House seat in Minnesota. America's listening to Fox News.
And now award-winning local news coverage with Brian Hauswirth on 93.9 The Eagle.
93.9 The Eagle News Time with Robinson's Cleaners. Robinson saves you time. Right now we do have partly cloudy skies in mid-Missouri. 58 right now in Columbia. It's 57 degrees in Jefferson City. We have a busy morning. We begin this hour with breaking news. I just got off the phone moments ago with the Boone County Sheriff's Department, Captain Brian Lear, who confirms one person has been wounded in that overnight gunfire on West Bellevue Drive near Scott Boulevard. Captain Lear tells 93.9 The Eagle the victim's injuries are not life-threatening. So wounded, and again, unclear if that was person shot, or if it was debris. Bottom line, they were wounded. He also says Lear does multiple residences and multiple vehicles have been struck by the gunfire that happened about 3 o'clock this morning. The police are still involved, deputies still involved. A woman who lives nearby telling ABC 17 News she heard about 20 gunshots about 3 o'clock this morning. Again, one person wounded, non-life-threatening injuries. The University of Missouri is suspending the self-reporting requirement for COVID cases. They're also suspending their data tracking dashboard. MU Incident Command Team Leader John Middleton has written a letter to the Mizzou community making that announcement. And we'll learn here in about 3 hours or so details about a new expansion project at Hitachi Energy in Jefferson City. It's one of the largest employers in the capital city. Governor Parson will be there at the massive plant on Highway 94 at 11 o'clock this morning. They'll announce the details about the expansion. They're also celebrating Hitachi Energy's 50th anniversary. Locals still call that plant, many of them, ABB. It was Westinghouse before that. 93.9 The Eagle News is brought to you this morning by the folks at Anderson Windows, 833. Turning our attention now to sports on this Tuesday. We'll start with Cardinal baseball. The Cardinals beat Blue Jays last night 7-3. Paul Goldschmidt had a grand slam in the 10th inning for the Cardinals as they win it 7-3. St. Louis and the Blue Jays again tonight, Busch Stadium. First pitch 6:45 right here on 93.9 The Eagle. Diamondbacks beat the Royals last night. Chase Field, Phoenix 9-5. Game 2 in the series is tonight, 8:40 our time. And the Avalanche beat the Blues at Enterprise Center 6-3. They take a 3-1 lead in the series. Condrey had a hat trick in the game. The Avalanche just one win away from winning the series. So the Blues essentially have to win 3 straight right now to stay alive and to win this series. And they're heading this series back to Ball Arena in Denver. Our sports is brought to you this hour by Hemi Construction in Columbia. 93.9 The Eagle News Time is 8:34. Traffic check with MidmoHires.com. Local companies looking for local people. MidmoHires.com. Find a job, post your job opening today. Our roads have been pretty quiet here in mid-Missouri. If you want to report a traffic issue, you can call or text us 573-874-9390. More team coverage in less than 30 minutes. We have breaking news immediately. I'm Brian Hauswirth, the 93.9 The Eagle.
The radio station, 93.9 The Eagle. The show, Wake Up Columbia, with Branden Rathert, Stephanie Bell, Brian Hauswirth, and Hannah the producer, giving you news, analysis, and opinion.
And the 1-2 delivery is hit hard and deep to left field. Get up! Get up! And it is gone! A walk-off grand slam home run for Paul Goldschmidt.
Ricky Horton with call last night on 93.9 The Eagle. Paul by the way, 2 outs in the game. Previous trips, I think Paul Goldschmidt had struck out 3 times last night and then wins the game in the bottom of the 10th. And a game heard here on 93.9 The Eagle and 93.9theeagle.com. Unfortunately, Blues didn't do so well. They're down 3-1. More importantly, apparently some Blues fans getting us bad press here in Missouri. I hate that this happened. So if you don't follow hockey, go to a hockey game, first of all. You will fall in love with the sport. There is nothing like it. It's not even like Arrowhead. Now, I've never been to Arrowhead, but I've been to other NFL stadiums across country. And, yeah, there's a raucous energy. But the thing with a hockey game, it's a constant raucous energy. And it is because the play is constant. It's the fastest paced thing in sports, maybe besides the NBA. Faster than even football.
Yes.
On TV, it doesn't translate.
No,
anyhow.
You have to be there to see it.
So with Nazem Kadri, there's a little bit of history in the playoffs last year. I think he was even suspended for a game for a play that hit he leveled against a Blues player. Things got snippy a little bit the other night. He ran into goalie Jordan Bennington, put him out at least for the remainder of this playoff series. Should the Blues advance, he'd be questionable for the next one. So apparently, and I'm not quite sure what his dissent is, and by pretty much most new. Now I'm on the Denver Post's website right now, and here's the headline: Avalanche center Nazem Kadri gets last laugh on St. Louis Blues hater. Scores a hat trick last night, and I say good for him. I hate that the Blues lost, but whoever these fans were in St. Louis, whatever they said, and especially now because everything is a racial issue, and they're bringing these few fans in St. Louis, bringing People, here's what happens, really. They look, because what do we do sometimes? We look, oh, that's Arkansas. Oh, that's Kansas for you, or whatever state of the month it is that we like to poke fun at. That's what people are doing now to our state, to the Show Me State. Oh, look at those racist Missourians.
And he is a Muslim. And according to the Post-Dispatch and according to the Denver outlets, he has received death threats on social media. They had to issue special protection, I believe, some sort of special detail or extra police at the team hotel. There was a call, as I recall, there was a call basically for the police and Kim Gardner to look into this. Now, whether or not they'll be able to find the people who made the threats, I don't know. But the yeah, it's just it's not good, but he was, there's a lot of security. You could tell that last night, a lot of security, and at least one, if not two fans near the bench kicked out last night.
And look at this, and the dude scores a hat trick last night, leads the Colorado Avalanche to a 3-1 series lead, and I'm wondering, so I gotta think the guy was absolutely sparked by what these fans were saying about him in St. Louis. I'll go out and show you. By the way, the guy is not a prolific scorer. This guy doesn't get hat tricks. Which a hat trick, by the way, Stephanie. Do you know what that is?
3 goals.
Yeah, 3 goals. And I'm asking not to mansplain, but just to ask. No, and I hate that phrase, by the way. And anytime you try, oh, you're mansplaining. No, I'm just asking if you know. That's all.
In bowling, it's like a turkey. Is that right? If you get 3 strikes in a row?
See, I don't know what that is. Brian, can you mansplain that to me? And you got to start with, well, Branden.
Is it turkey?
Here's what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't have a real good explanation on that, but you don't see as much as you used to see on an actual hat trick where they would actually, fans would throw their hats onto the ice. But yeah, you're right. He doesn't score a lot, but man, it's just,
he was on fire last night, and you got to think. Really, so, as those Blues fans who did that to cause this to happen, as far as the alleged racial slurs against him, I wonder how they're feeling. Like, man, not only did I do some really morally reprehensible stuff, you can judge the character of the guy by the way he plays, by the way he whatever. But then to go and do that, if that is indeed what happened, allege if that is indeed what happened, they got to feel pretty bad today. Number one, just for moral reasons, which if you say it in the first place, I'm guessing maybe you have no moral qualms with using language like that. But then he goes and he scores 3 goals on you, and the Lance are up 3-1. I'm thinking they're probably like one of Roy Lovelady's friends right now. The one person in that third ward race for Roy Lovelady that didn't go out and vote. I'm thinking whoever it is that started that stuff, as far as Blues fans are considered, whoever started that stuff with this guy, got to be feeling bad. Welcome into the show. I want to do this real quick, and then Stephanie's got some, and I got a little surprise here for Hannah. It's not a big deal, but it's something I saw it this morning. And I see it a lot, and I keep thinking about doing it, and it's, I don't know, it's just kind of cool.
I'm still nervous.
I'm probably overselling it. But I want to go to Georgia. Some important elections there today for various reasons. You got the Trump v. Pence factor, different endorsements. Now, I will say this. I think Pence, and he backed Kemp after he'd been enjoying a pretty comfortable lead in the polls for a while. But Stephanie's got some interesting numbers because remember all the national news outlets. Major League Baseball game, the All-Star game, yanked from Atlanta with an incredible number of black business owners that would have benefited from the millions and millions of dollars that would have been brought into the Atlanta and Georgia economy, yanked because of the Jim Crow laws. All the national news outlets, these Jim Crow laws.
I think you can at least say that it is Jim Crow adjacent.
This is a party that does not like the browning of America.
It's voter suppression. It's the new Jim Crow.
This is the perfect time for them to use their political leverage to stand up and say, no, we're not going back to the Jim Crow era.
The president himself said these feel like Jim Crow laws. What's your take on whether it is or isn't?
I say it is. I mean, I did grow up under Jim Crow laws.
It's going to stop all these people from voting, and it's horrible. It's the end. Get rid of the All-Star game. But here are some facts that Stephanie has found.
Georgia is enjoying a record-setting early voting period this year. Nearly 860,000 people have voted, which is an increase of 168%, up from 2018 and from 2020, which I think, nationally was a record year for voter turnout, up 212% in Georgia early voting.
And we look at what's happening here. One of our local reps, David Tyson Smith. So all those scary things, this is what's going to happen. And that is that mindset. That is how those people think. It's going to be hell and damnation. It's the worst thing to ever happen. We know it's not true. And we knew it at the time. We knew it wasn't going to be true. And now we have the facts, even though they like to believe in different sets of facts. We know that's not true. And that matters here because we have local elected state officials that rail on things like photo ID laws that are against them. And they'll tell you these scary things are going to happen. And we know now those things, they don't happen.
It's not just photo ID. Someone might say, well, what's wrong with photo ID? It's a state-sanctioned photo ID with an expiration date. So what that means, if you're an elderly person and say you no longer drive, well, your driver's license might be expired by a year.
And the state will come and make sure that you get a thing. That's David Tyson Smith. Again, the guy doesn't know what he's talking about, or he does know, and he's just lying to you. Old people won't be able. They absolutely will be able to get identification. These people are lying to you. 874-9390. Chuck, welcome into the show. You a fan of the St. Louis Blues?
Oh, yeah, I have been for 30-some-odd years.
The old days of the arena on Oakland Avenue. But
let's just be realistic. Why death threats? Why not just wait for him in the parking lot? He's a hockey player, for crying out loud. They fight in the game.
That's what they do at the L.A. Dodgers baseball games, especially when the Giants are in town in L.A. They just wait after the game and actually kick your tail. And that's why I said there's a lot of alleged and supposed things. There's some moron talking smack on Facebook. You shouldn't say that stuff anyway. Or were people like going and knocking on his hotel room and saying, hey, I'm going to kill you. And either way, and it doesn't matter because Missouri is making national news, racist stuff. So, but I feel what you're saying. Chuck, Chuck, the truck driver, you mind share, what do you see in diesel nationwide?
Pain.
Yeah.
Well, it's the highest I've ever seen it. I've been at it 16 years.
Besides the price of diesel, is every gas station that you're going to in America, and by the way, we appreciate you listening on the app, is everybody keeping diesel in stock? Are you going to places and they don't have diesel?
The East Coast is having fuel, like for diesel at truck stops. Particularly, I don't know why, but Love's and the Flying J, in particular, running out of fuel. And a couple of weeks ago, my company and several other drivers I've talked to, companies sent out messages letting us know if we got a fuel stop, call ahead and make sure they even got fuel to sell. So
that's crazy, Chuck. Thank you so much and thank you for what you do. Obviously, over the past couple of years, I think more and more people have had an appreciation. Oh, and I want to share this. I had a friend. He was actually a former Wake Up Columbia family member. His name, Jeff Studley. We called him Studley on the show, and he used to do kind of what Hannah does. And he sent me a GIF the other day, I guess is what you would call it, a picture with some words on it.
Yes.
Okay, it was a.
Was it moving?
No, it wasn't.
And it was
moving.
probably just a meme.
Okay, it was a meme, and it says this. It's a picture on the back of a truck, and it says, "School is important, but trucking is importanter." I thought you would like that because, we're a big fan here on Wake Up Columbia. Hey, elections are a big deal, but the more localer, the more important. Chuck, we love you. Be safe out there on the highways. We appreciate what it is that you do. Coming up, before we get into the Gary Nolan show, I think we will do some leftovers. I'm starting to like the leftovers, just kind of stuff that we didn't have time to get into because, as Hannah politely reminded me this morning, she says, well, I didn't get to it yesterday, Hannah. I have this. And Hannah says...
Said you had 3.5 hours. Jeez.
Still couldn't do it. So that's why we do leftovers. Anxious to see what we're going to find in leftovers.
Branden Rathert and Wake Up Columbia. Drinking upstream from the herd. 93.9 The Eagle.
Things are so stressful, our national bird is now the balding eagle. So it's good. Long may he wave. He's got to save it. According to the poll, 74.
Stephen Colbert last night, again, even more progressives, finally saying, yep, this is bad. And I wish it wouldn't be bad. Listen, I used to say this, and I've said this forever, regardless of who the president is, because it's always easy to rail against the guy who's of a different political party than you are. That's always easy, and there's a lot of talk show hosts all across America that make way more money than I do at poking at the same guy every day for 3 hours a day, and that's great. But ultimately, and I said this when Trump was president, and when Obama was president, and when W was president, and so on and so forth. Want the country to do well. But you also got to call out the BS, I believe. And sometimes it's just really fun, and sometimes it's just too easy.
I was going to say.
You know?
It's like low-hanging fruit.
Yeah. And, you know, if you have a water balloon, what do? You throw it. You just don't play with the water balloon.
If you got bubble wrap, you're going to pop the bubbles.
Which just reminds me, I forgot about your surprise.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Like you forgot what my surprise is
I know,
already?
I forgot to unveil it.
Oh, there's still time.
So, let me tell you, I'm going to turn around here so you can watch on camera.
Oh, God.
If you're watching on our YouTube channel. So I always...
What are you about to do on
it's
camera?
Cool. It's cool. I promise. Before we get into leftovers here, it's cool. I promise. The first time I ever met Hannah, we've told the story. She was in class in high school listening to Wake Up Columbia, and she checked into the show to talk about how she's a younger listener listening to a conservative talk show. She was like 16 years old at the time, and now she's older than that, however old she is now. And so that's how we got to know each other. And then Hannah invited me to her school to speak to like a broadcasting journalism class. And I went there, and none of the kids gave a crap about what I had to say, except for Hannah, and I'm still not real sure about that.
Yeah.
But when I left, and this spoke to me, it was my second impression of the character of Hannah. She got me a gift that I like to wear from time to time, and I hadn't worn it in a long time.
You haven't.
And she got me a shirt that says...
World's okayest radio talk show host.
And I love this shirt. I love it so much, I don't ever wear it. Seriously, here's why. Because if I wear it, wear and tear, I'm going to have to wash it. It'll fade. And it's my favorite shirt for... If you're watching on the YouTube channel, it's a really cool shirt. Just simple blue with black print. World's okayest radio talk show host.
Got to keep you humble, you know?
Yeah. I'm, like Glenn Beck says, I think one of my greatest attributes is my incredible humility.
It's kind of big on you now.
Yes, it is very big on me now because, yeah.
It didn't used to be that big on you. Good for you.
I've lost about 35 pounds since, but it fit really good during the day. But it said to me a lot of things about Hannah. Number one, she was a conservative listening in high school. Shouldn't have been listening in school, but I appreciate it. Does really well for the ratings. They don't care where you're sitting and listening to the radio station. They don't care if you're in a classroom supposed to be learning world history, just as long as we get the credit, which we did back then. But the idea that she invited me to talk, and then I think was already bugging me to become a part of Wake Up Columbia, maybe at that point.
No.
Invited me to speak, and then presented me with a gift or a token of appreciation was cool. But the coolest thing about this was the sense of humor behind it. Because I love it. I knew right away I got Hannah and she got me. World's okayest talk show host. And I love that so much because it's humorous and it allows me to poke fun at myself.
Yeah, it was a 2-for-1.
Yeah, and it was brilliant. And that's why this is one of my favorite shirts, and it's why I never wear it, because this shirt embodies so many things about my relationship with my dear, sweet Hannah.
Well, thanks. I got to tell you, though, I was nervous to give you that.
How
because
come?
I was pretty sure you would find it funny, but there was like a little bit in the back of my head, like, is he gonna freak out and think I'm insulting him?
Is he one of those real arrogant talk show hosts that thinks he knows everything?
Is he a diva?
And I'm not. I'm far too good to be a diva.
Oh, boy. You really sold it.
And I kid, and hence the shirt, and hence one of the reasons we love Hannah, the producer. Gary Nolan Show is next.